Touchdown! What a run in the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik for the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
365 Sports on this Wednesday afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm David Smoak, Craig Smoak, and Paul Catalina with me. And a lot to get to today. Shahan Jararaja, former Oklahoma football player Gabe Eichert. He'll also be a part of the show today. And we will have our Big 12 MOJO rankings from Craig Smoak, and then all of us, Paul, Craig, and I will do our Big 12 picks, college football picks later in the show. Zack Gelb also and more. So here's a note from Brett McMurphy if you're a football fan. Starting today, 49 consecutive days, there will be a college football or NFL game played every day up until the week of Thanksgiving. The fun starts tonight, Missouri State at Middle Tennessee, and then Liberty at UTEP. Plan accordingly. That is a 50 burger, basically 49 consecutive games of football on TV.
Well, you know, thanks to Maction and everything else that starts now. And I know that it's not just that anymore, but that means that we're going to start getting some Tuesday night games and all of that. But yeah, Liberty and UTEP and Missouri State and Middle Tennessee tonight from Johnny Red Floyd Stadium in Murfreesboro, which I drove past when I was just there. And I thought that was kind of a cool name for a stadium. But outside of that, good that we have tons of football.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. So looking forward to having football nearly every day and having the World Series playoffs, basketball starting up if that's your thing as well. NHL getting started last night. So it's that sweet spot on the sports calendar.
One of the things about football, and again, you sometimes you can't get it up, and then you have one of those weekends where it seems like you have one great game after another. Every weekend has been great with a couple of them. Like last weekend, there were a couple of great games, but we are about to hit it full throttle. Remember when all of that conference realignment started? Remember when you were wondering about, well, how does the Big 12 fit in this? And anyone else, our good friend, Bob Thompson, kept telling us content. Every network, every channel, they need games on their programming list. And so there we are with that. Now, yesterday late, I think we mentioned it for a second, but the transfer portal, another update. I always kind of I look at these and I go, all right, well, it's going to change again at some point. This is approved, though, by the D1 Administrative Committee. Not final until its meeting concludes Wednesday. That was today. Notification of the transfer windows will be January 2nd through the 16th, recommended by the Football Oversight Committee. Before you go to the second page of that, Garrett, I like the idea. I'm sure it's not perfect. Nothing they've done when the transfer portal commit to me has ever really made a lot of sense in some ways, but this is what it's going to be following for most the fall season and most of the football season.
I like that it's one period, and this is the period that makes the most sense. It's still going to get challenged, I'm sure, because of whatever. I already saw Darren Heitner tweeting about it today, and mostly also about the second part, which we're about to talk about. But there are also a couple things in there. Like if you're in the college football playoff, the deeper you go, you do have some opportunities to transfer after that, so that you don't have to make that Pribula, I can never say his name, that decision of I'm going to leave this team because I have to, not because initially, like I know I'm going to play for another team next year, but I would like to kind of stay with the team I'm with now until the end of this, but the math doesn't work out. So they've got some allowances for that. But again, nothing's perfect, but this is at least a start, and it takes it out of December in the signing day window, which I think was the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that nothing was going to be perfect for everybody. There's just no way logistically, unless you were to completely take school out of the equation, which I think maybe is what some people try to eventually do here in the next few years. But without doing that, you're at the mercy of the school calendars to some degree, and that should be taken into account. I mean, it's after all why this whole thing is even here to begin with. Mm-hmm. So until we fully professionalize this thing, that you've got to deal with certain calendar dates that don't line up, and it's easy to see the people who just want this to be a sport and nothing more, because why is it not starting this? Well, again, you've got classes, you've got schools that have different dates of starting up and all of that. So anyways, that's been a messy part of this. It's going to continue to be an untied sort of messy piece of this that you can't quite clean up all the way, but I do like that there's at least a compact, one organized sort of window. I think that clears a lot of the messiness up for coaches. I think that the process is a little more straightforward for the players. And they did take into account people's thoughts on this. So, I mean, some of this was the players suggesting, hey, this is what would work best for us. The coaches suggesting this is what would work best for us. Now, I don't know ultimately what made their decision, but I think that they're out to do the best thing they can, and this was the best solution they came up with. So we'll see how it works, but like you said, it won't take long for, I mean, the vulture swirled. Every time we have some sort of change, I hear this same name that I don't hear anytime else, but all of a sudden this crops up and I hear the name of this lawyer. So yeah, there's people that are going to pick away at this because it's not perfect, and I don't know that you can ever make it perfect unless you, like I said, just completely take school out of the equation.
Yeah, the bowl games run through most of December. Some trickle into January. Of course, the college football playoff ends on January 19th. I think that's the championship game, and that's about the time, 3 days after. The portal will close before that, but like you said, there's an extension possibility for those involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've seen some of the comments about why not wait till after spring? Well, because it basically neuters spring ball entirely. Now, I know spring ball can be pretty overrated for what it actually is, and so that's not like it's the end of the world if spring ball is not spring ball, but I think going through the whole exercise of just simply feeling like you have a team in March and April only to have to turn around and like guard that team from getting picked apart 4 months before the season starts, I just don't think it's a healthy exercise for the sport or really all that practical. So if you're going to do it, you needed to do it earlier, but I've seen, already, why not do it after spring? I think that's a big reason why. What about the playoff teams? Well, they're already playoff teams, so they're not the sisters of the poor. They shouldn't be at a disadvantage either, but it doesn't say that you can't keep playing. You just got to put your name in the portal, and I can understand where maybe that would cause some tension or something like that. But again, there's no everybody's happy solution to this, so glad to see them take a step forward. We'll see if it works or not. And if it doesn't, I'm sure they'll be somewhat quick to react. And if it works for the better, then great.
All right. Another part of that, when it comes to the transfer portal, the timeline, in some of what we mentioned, in cases of a head coaching change, student athletes will have 15 days consecutive window beginning 5 days after the new coach is hired or announced. Student athletes whose coaches have already departed are grandfathered in under the previous rules. Again, there's another meeting there was a meeting today that this was finalized by the D1 Administrative Committee. But why would this seems to be simple? The national championship game, whatever, January 19th. Why not just extend it for 5 days after the game? Why not?
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the that they have. I think that's in there for those who are participating in the game. They have 5 days after the game. Now, obviously one of the other things that they need to do is, we all kind of agree they need to move the calendar up a little bit because the season is ending too late for them to maximize their viewers on it. But to this issue and to this one specifically, this is the one that's probably going to get fought a little bit harder than the one window, because it used to be a 30-day window as soon as there was a head coaching change to jump in. Well, now it's half that time, and you can't do it until a new head coach is hired or announced.
Yep.
And the announced is important because obviously a hiring and an announcement are kind of different things because of contractual language. So once the hire is announced, okay, the new coach at UCLA is going to be Andrew Valade, he was the defensive coordinator at Baylor. Boom, here he comes. Okay, well, I don't want to play for him, so I'm going to get in the transfer portal. But they're giving the coaches, I guess, 5 days to talk to these guys. And I get that, but I don't think that the players are going to go for this where before they had a whole month to make a decision and didn't have to wait and see who it was. If you wanted to wait and see who it was, you would. If you've decided to jump in the transfer portal, you came to play for that coach, and now you don't really care who's coming.
Yeah, I mean, go back to the playoff thing. I mean, yeah, there's a 5-day window after the postseason for those guys. That will be the way that they try to address that. But, the coaching change is the other pretty big part of this that I think has probably the most discussion that I've seen, at least. And so I think they're just trying to limit the chaos, and like the doors get opened by a coaching change, and then there's just unfiltered exodus and tampering and all of that, trying to find the best way possible to protect the school that's losing a head coach and also their roster, and give them an opportunity to try to keep that as best they can. I don't have any really strong opinions on that. I haven't really sat and thought too much about it, quite frankly, but I think it's a way to, like I said, just try to help a school maintain, rather than just, hey, we fired or lost a head coach and now we're just getting picked apart like we're some, baby cow, it's, with vultures swirling over our heads, unprotected. It seems like they're trying to make an effort to touch every part of this that they can, knowing full well they can't do everything they want to fully do, if that makes sense. Like, we're trying to protect the schools, we're trying to protect the players, we're trying to limit the chaos, we're trying to help the coaches, we're trying to slim this down process for the players, but we can't do it when we want to do it for everybody, because it just doesn't simply work that way. So this is what they came up with, and again, there's already lawyers picking it apart, which is not a surprise, and there's plenty of fans picking apart, for example, the disadvantage for playoff teams, even though they'll have that window. I get where that complaint is coming from. So, it is what it is. Not everybody's going to be happy about it.
To me, it's something we need to discuss, because it's been on the, my goodness, top of the headlines for a while, in and out, but it seemed like it's still somewhat confusing, but they're the ones, they know the rules. Hopefully they can get that and not have any interruption or changes, at least for a while. The best and highest graded offensive lines for the year at the top: A&M, Ohio State, Utah. Well, when we had Kyle Whittingham on at Big 12 Media Days, that was one of the parts of his team that he liked the most. Also inside that top 10, you have Baylor at number 8. That kind of surprised me, although they're putting up huge yards, protecting Sawyer Robertson and enough running from Bryson Washington. And then Arizona State at 11. Arizona, Cincinnati in the top 15, Cincinnati and Arizona 13 and 14. So they're represented very well in the Big 12, along with some of the teams ranked among the top 5 in the country. Yeah,
I mean, you look down that list and there's not one single one of those teams that you would say stinks, right? I mean, every one of them's been good, better. I mean, like, Arizona's been better. Cincinnati looks like they can contend for the league. Virginia's been one of the biggest surprises, I think, nationally, all over the country. You've got, a ton of the undefeated teams are up there. Like you said, Kyle Whittingham was like, no, this is, one of the best offensive lines, if not the best he's ever had. Oh, I say that, in Arkansas is up there. So yes, there's one, but their offense is not the problem. It's their overall team discipline and their defense that's the problem.
Mike Elko's done a hell of a job at A&M in a short amount of time. A lot of good teams. You wouldn't have any bad teams on here unless you just had disastrous quarterback play or a bunch of slippery-handed skill players or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody on here, if not everybody, glancing over it, is a winning football team at this moment. And right there at the top, you got two of the strong national title contenders. And I wonder what Utah's grade was before the Texas Tech game, because they definitely took a little bit of a dent in that one, but they are super solid with NFL guys. And I still feel like Utah, and I'm on my MOJO/power rankings later, I go back to, is Texas Tech just really good? Or are we going to sit there and go like, oh, Utah got blown out, they suck because just a bunch of people don't like Utah? Because everything else says they're still pretty good. And we'll see as they get back to it. But, that offensive line is solid, and I expect them to make a lot of noise down this stretch. I just think they ran into maybe the best team in the league at home a couple of weeks ago, and that's dinged their – I guess ding people's opinions of them, but that O-line is really, really good. Kind of surprising to see, just sort of scan down. I mean, top 25. I mean, a little surprised to see Arkansas there, but Baylor at 8, surprised, not really surprised, because we haven't talked about their O-line at all, which is a good thing. I mean, you talk about them if they're really good, like Utah's case, and they've got these future NFL guys, but you also mostly talk about O-lines when they're not very good. And I know I've spent more time talking about bad O-lines than good O-lines. So the fact that we're not talking about their O-line at all means they're doing a really good job. And this just bears that out as well.
And they've had to shuffle around. They've had some guys who have missed time, and they've done a really good job with that. Now, the defensive stop rate. Look at Texas Tech at the very top. This is Max Olson, and this is, again, from the start of the season through last weekend. We know Texas Tech's defense has been unbelievable. That's probably what has made them, well, it is what has completely transformed the identity in a lot of different ways. They were always going to win 50-40 if they win, but they are really doing a nice job on defense, a great job, which a lot of the money in the portal and transfer portal was spent on that. You have Oklahoma 2-4 playing this weekend. You wonder how many points will be scored in that game. And then there's Oregon among the top 5, and LSU flirting with the top 10, and Indiana and Oregon 6-10 play this weekend.
Yeah, that 2-4 matchups are really interesting, considering that number 4 was number 1 last week, and Florida knocked them back a couple of spots because of some big plays they were to make on offense. And then, Texas Tech number 1 in stop rate is something I couldn't fathom ever seeing it in my lifetime. I just couldn't. Like, the way that they just kind of always built the program until now, it was kind of like just an assumption of like, look, we're not going to get the kind of players we need out here. We're going to have to open it up and just run and gun and see what happens. But now they're kind of, doing both, and it's been something to watch.
Yeah, but I do think we need to also remark on why they can do that now versus why before. I get where you're coming from.
But they never it never felt to me like they were trying all that hard under the old system.
I think they were trying. They just couldn't go buy the guys. Yeah. I think you tried to get good defensive players to Lubbock. I just don't think you had the coaches to lure them there. And I don't think that you had, okay, well, if we don't have the coaches or this or that, how do you get them here? Well, you offer them something enticing, and it's not just money, it's the culture, and it's playing for Joey McGuire, and it's the total package. And they didn't have the total package before. You maybe didn't have the head coach. You had the offensive minds that said, hey, we're going to score 60, and if we have a good defense, that's great, and we'll try to have some good defensive players, but we know what our bread and butter is offensively. And then, you had this reputation that the Big 12 doesn't play defense. I'm sure that didn't help lure a lot of defensive recruits. But now, we can't compare what's happening now to most things that are happening 5-10 years ago when it comes to trends. And I never could have expected this. Well, now you can, because it's totally different. And so, they're able to go out and scout and form a plan to go get the best players possible that otherwise they would have had to just been going to the field house, bumping into Kirby Smart and going, hey, man, we're going to try to get this 5-star linebacker. Well, now it's you form your plan, and you have your business plan, and you're able to convince some guys that might not otherwise have looked your way to come your way. And so it's completely transformed that program. And this bears it out that, they've got a great defense. that is paired really nicely with a really solid offense, and it has been transformative, and it's got them in places that we never were talking about them before, and we probably wouldn't have ever been talking about them if not for that transformation. So it's worked out really well for them, and clearly we've seen classes in the past that you go get a bunch of guys, whether it was old recruiting or new recruiting, and it doesn't always pan out. The 5-stars don't always play. I mean, hell, there's a wide receiver on this Tech roster that's not exactly panned out the way that you thought. But the guys they went and got this offseason have panned out. Like, you look at all the big names, hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, they knew what they wanted. They went and got it. But most importantly, those guys all are hitting. And that's why you're seeing a defense that not a lot of people have been able to handle. And so, yeah, man, to see them on the top of, like, every ranking, offense, defense, I don't know where they are in special teams, but recruiting class, whatever it is. I mean, it is a renaissance. It is a very rare airtime for Texas Tech, and you just wonder how high they can take it. And there's really no limit on it right now, the way things are.
It'll be interesting. Who's the next team to try to do it right?
Well,
with Texas Tech,
I saw where today Stanford. I don't know if you're going to get to this or not.
Yeah, we have that story.
Okay,
we'll get to that. Was what Stanford got a big chunk of money,
but it's going to take stuff like that. It's going to take you having like some. Texas had Michael Dell, or has had Michael Dell for the longest time, and then obviously Oak State had T Boone, and Tech has their cavalcade of oil guys, and I mean, everybody's got their – Michigan's probably got like 100 Skull and Bones members that are, lawyers in the government or whatever. But it takes you having some people like that. And if you do, then great. But they've also got to be able to want to make the investment. And we'll get to Stanford. But they got a guy who just dropped $50 million in their lap and said, this isn't for anything but just football. Like, this isn't facilities. This is – just put the roster together. Yeah, so here you go. Philanthropist, trustee Bradford M. Freeman with a $50 million gift to Stanford that, again, what I was reading, it said, this isn't for, like, the indoor. This is, like, go buy a team and put it together. Yeah. And so that's what it takes. And Texas Tech had that, and others have had that. Ohio State's clearly had that. Texas has had that. Michigan's had that. A bunch of people. But as far as, like, who's the team we don't expect, like a Texas Tech, to pony up. Maybe it's Stanford, but I don't know. I'm very interested to see who that is, because now there is a pathway to go. There is a way to crack your way into the club now. Yeah. But you just got to have the investment, and not everybody has that.
Not just the investment, but you're right. You have to have that, but also the right people making decisions on personnel. He's a 1964 graduate, major, has been a major Stanford donor. This one here specifically, and you wonder if Andrew Luck and others, they still have to do a football coach at some point, right? Because they're interim
but this is going to help with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to help a lot with that, so because the biggest thing I think Stanford had going against them in their previous coaching search was NIL had come into the equation. And when I think a lot of the candidates that went there, like a Jason Garrett or whoever, had interviewed for the job, and they said, so what's our NIL budget? Like, what's our collective like? What are we going to do over here? And Stanford was like, we don't really know. We don't know who we want to be. Now we're in the ACC and all these things. We got this travel budget, which is a hell of a thing to hear from a university that has an endowment that's like bigger than like half of the
country.
No, I mean, like you take some of the smaller schools in the ACC and it's like 6 or 7 of them combined. And that's just not because they're bad schools or poor, but they're just smaller. But Stanford has this gigantic endowment. And when you go to interview there and you're like, how much money will you give me? And you're like, I don't know. So this is pretty important that you have people who do care about Stanford athletics, and more specifically the football team.
There you go. It's not even about it. They all have, again, they have somebody who is trying to specifically, with the money they have, all the schools, we know about how deep they are, one of the top 2 to 3 deepest athletic departments with success, but they have somebody now wanting to focus and target football getting better. You have to be committed to football.
Stupid Stanford not touching that medical research money or trying to find cures for things. Like, spend it on football.
That wasn't my point of it.
I'm not speaking specifically to you either, but people always talk about their endowment as though it's just money to take out of the ATM to go spend on whatever. And a lot of that is set aside, obviously, for things far more important than football programs. But yeah, you would think they'd have more in the ATM machine than they do typically.
My point with the endowment is, that they can go get money. And then when you ask them, well, can you go get some money from a football fan? And they tell you no. And you're like, you can get money for any, like you have this, like you guys have deep pocketed alumni. I know you have to have some football fans.
But you have to have an alum that wants to specifically commit to football.
Yeah.
And they have all the money in the world. You're right. Now they have $50 million for whoever the next head coach is.
Yeah, so maybe they're the next Tech, but whatever. The Red Raiders laid the blueprint for if you've got the right set of people in charge, and if you've got the right alignment, if you will, and the right people with the right backing, then yeah, you can go be a player pretty quickly in today's college football world, and it's going to upset the old traditional apple cart, the old country club geezers who have maintained and kept their doors shut tight and everything as much as possible. Those people are upset and painting you a certain way. And then there's a lot of others, I think, on the other side who are like small schools who never thought they had a chance, but maybe they got a couple billionaire donors and they're like, well, hell, now we have a chance because now we can make up the ground that wasn't the 100 years of football history, right? We weren't playing with the leather helmets on, but it doesn't matter because now it's just, hey, put your money where your mouth is and make the right choices. And that's the difference. And that should also be what's said about the Tech story is, again, it's not just putting the money out there, but it's making the right decisions with it. And they clearly have done that to this point.
It's also not just for 1 year. They will, they're committed to doing it over and over and over again. And if you have success doing it, then you, of course, have more people who want to help continue that. Cole Kublik had an interesting tweet about the SEC. In the history of the conference, 4 teams have defeated 3 ranked conference opponents in 3 consecutive weeks without an open date. Alabama will play its 3rd consecutive ranked conference opponent this weekend against Missouri. Now, there have been teams that have won 3, but 3 consecutive weeks without any kind of break or off week or whatever. And Alabama has a chance to be the 5th team when they play Missouri after winning back-to-back ranked teams, Vanderbilt last week and Georgia the week before that. So there we are with where they are. They're trying to get – and Missouri, by the way, this is I'm telling you, Missouri is very loaded. Now, are they loaded enough to stay with Alabama? They run the ball. They've got that great back Hardy, and then Alabama put up a lot of points. And then Alabama with what Simpson's doing, they are putting up huge numbers with their offense too. So it's a great running game against a great passing game right now, and 2 teams that are playing really well.
Look, I think Missouri's got a great shot to hang with Alabama. It's at home. You know, they're playing great at offense. They're good. I mean, Alabama's offense is very efficient and good, but you know, when they've played teams that are from the Power 4, they're not scoring 60 points. They're in the high 20s and 30s, which is normal. Yeah, I think Mizzou can hang. I think absolutely they can. Eli Drinkwitz's done a fantastic job, and they're a deep, strong team. And Ahmad Hardy is tough to stop.
He's the only non-quarterback, I believe. Jeremiah Smith might be among the top 10 or 12, 15 Heisman Trophy odds right now is the running back at Missouri. Here's another note about Kalen DeBoer. You remember we've had the numbers about coaches who have struggled against top 20 or ranked teams? Kalen DeBoer is 17-3 as an FBS head coach against nationally ranked teams. That's crazy good. And 2-0 this year. 4 of Alabama's next 5 games, including Missouri, are against teams ranked currently inside the AP top 25.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much a self-fulfilling prophecy when you got 16 teams and like half of them are in the top 15. So, I mean, it's almost impossible to not be playing ranked teams when nearly all of them are ranked. I guess we're okay with the rankings when we're talking about them in this way, though, right? Like the rankings are fine when we're pumping it up.
But to me, it's not even who they're playing, yes, but it's the fact he's 17-3, which is stupid.
We're talking about multiple things here. Yeah. So, I'm speaking on the SEC teams playing ranked teams that you started off with. So it's sort of going to, obviously be that way when you have so many teams ranked. But on Kalen DeBoer as well. So just want to make sure we like the rankings for this story.
Well,
but we don't want to like it on Monday when it's not exactly okay. Just want to be clear
Monday,
on that,
Craig. It doesn't matter. They'll be just fine. The conference.
No, I know. I feel like there's a lot of ratings critique that's very like one day it's fine, the other day it's not okay.
It's like those who cover the SEC get a text in the morning or Sunday afternoon. Okay, here is what we discussed this week, or who's too low, who's not enough, whatever. But
no, I mean, I find some of it entertaining, but I just there's a weird thing where you talk mad ass about these rankings and the people forming them, and then you turn around and go, man, a bunch of ranked games this weekend. Look, SEC's got 15 of the top 20. Well, weren't you just talking about how the rankings are not quite what they – anyways, it's a stupid rant. But Kalen DeBoer's awesome. Been very good wherever he's been, and it was kind of nice to see Alabama sort of panicking there for about a week just because we're not used to seeing that. It's just something strange and brand new and – kind of nice when you've seen them sort of ruling the roost for as long as they did. But unfortunately for the people that enjoyed it, hopefully you liked it while it lasted, because it didn't last very long. It doesn't look like it's going to really be that way for much at all the rest of this season, because they look like, maybe the national championship favorite, depending on what angle you're looking at them from. So any thoughts that this was the slow death roll of Alabama, or that they were going to be taking a bunch of licks every year, that's clearly not the case. DeBoer's got them right, and that Florida State game was just a one-off upset at the beginning of a year, and nothing much more than that. So
and then
we'll see how they do, though. I mean, they could lose this weekend, they could lose every week the rest of the way, because as we started talking about, it's ranked team after ranked team.
9-3 by the end of the regular season and conference schedule. You're right, almost NFL type records. We've discussed that. Caden Proctor, that game against Georgia, when they threw a ball out to the left sideline. This is a picture that Daniel Moore painted for Alabama.com, AL.com. I love that. Big man with the football. We always love big man touchdowns. But this guy's special. Was it Iowa? Remember, was it Alabama? He is unbelievable. It was an incredible play. Got knocked out just shy of the pylon.
Are you going to order a print?
I'm not so sure I won't do that. I just got one in for Memorial Stadium in Nebraska. But I think this might be one I just love the power and how nimble he was in doing that too. So if you're an Alabama fan, General Ursus, you can order that, and then you can slice it up if you want. Tennessee.
Is this like the Alabama version of that Aggie painter whose name I don't know? Who's the Aggie painter that has all of the – Paul, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
It's like the Norman Rockwell of Aggie paintings, where it's like every scene imaginable. What's that guy's name? Do you not remember?
I mean, there's the guy – I can't remember. I know there's Robert Hurst that was the painter at the Hall of Fame forever. But, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's always got the Aggie scenes. Benjamin Knox. That's
Benjamin
who it is.
Knox, fine art.
When you walk into Kyle Field, like in the fanciest section, like there's a Benjamin Knox, like you can go and buy prints of.
He's like the Aggie painter. So I was just wondering if this is like the Alabama version of that. I don't know, but it's a cool picture. That was a badass play, and the only downside of it was he didn't score. He almost did, but that was a really cool play. He's a big freak show that we're going to be talking about for years, and that was almost the greatest play of the season, if not for the fact he didn't score. But that's that. If I was an Alabama fan, I'd definitely buy that, depending on the cost. I think that's cool.
The cost. I'm looking it up right now online. There's a couple of other business stories we're going to push back. One about conferences, about private equity, et cetera, a bill, and then also another one about betting, gambling on pro sports that they're going to have with college athletes. That's later. Mike Norvell, Dan Lanning, Kenny Dillingham, and Ryan Silverfield, the current Memphis coach. They're, of course, 6-0, ranked in the top 25. Chris Vanini did a story today on a visit to Memphis in 2017. All of those names, those coaches were on the same staff at Memphis, and now look at where they are. And all of them, now that Florida State has turned the corner again, have been tremendously successful. Great story, all top 25. It's a good story if you want to read it with Chris Vanini.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine like having a staff of Mike Norvell and Silverfield and Lanning and
kind of like that tech staff?
Yeah, that's
from back in the day.
Yeah.
All right, Shahan Jararaja will join us around the corner. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. Thank you all for being a part of what we do every day. And Garrett Ross running the mothership. He's been here a long time again, second day in a row. Has been here, and Andrew Valade is already dialing up some vicious stuff when it comes to the polls, the quizzes, and we'll have the wheel, and Paul's top 5 around the corner, too. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. That you want to be, you want to get back to the way you felt maybe even a year or 5 years ago. Want to be, need to be, yeah, you need to feel better. And then used to be is you want to get back to what it was like. Your energy was great. Your sex drive was never an issue. You didn't have to think about it. Low testosterone can create all of the above. And Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. You might be fine. It might be something else that's creating those symptoms. Dr. Kent Petty, contact him on his website, pettycliniclowt.com. Tell him I sent you. He and his staff will set you up to get blood work, take care of that appointment, get the blood work results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone level so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
It's back 0% for 72 months on all 2025 Ram 1500 trucks during the Drive into Fall event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Check out a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with a massive $16,000 off, or a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $12,000 off, and both at 3.9 for 72 months. And if you drive a Ford, Toyota, or GM, get an extra $1,500 bonus cash. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
What about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So earlier today, as I'm looking through some of the college football topics, rolling through social media, Twitter, online, various websites, I see where Shahan Jararaja from CBS Sports was responding to Joel Klatt, who was making comments about how you don't need, because of so much chaos inside the original top 25 poll. And Shahan just doesn't like that narrative. And he's going to join us here momentarily on 365 Sports. I want to get feedback with him on that. Here he is, Shahan Jararaja, front and center, joins us. So, Shahan, yeah, we've discussed this before. No preseason polls, whatever. Joe Klatt says it, so it's got to be the Bible, right? I mean, as far as his opinion, you just think it needs to be left alone.
Yeah, I think that people are overthinking this. Like, the reality is there is nothing that anybody could have said that would have made Penn State losing to UCLA not surprising, that would have made Texas expected to be really good and starting 0-2 against power conference teams not crazy. Like, I think that it's very important that we contextualize that this was arguably the most hyped Texas team of the modern era, that this was a Penn State team that was expected to compete for national championships. Like, I want that context. I think that's a good thing. It's good that we can see these teams potentially fail and kind of build the story around that, right? Because here's the reality as well. I think that there's people who just kind of think that if we got rid of these polls, then when we head into a game that we just treat, Kansas the same way that we treat Alabama. That's not the case, right? Like, we would just automatically err towards brands that were recognizable instead of going through and ranking teams that potentially deserve it. Now, again, the polls are often wrong. That's kind of the point of them, though, right? We need to have that context to see how things move. So for me, I'm always going to be somebody who wants the polls to exist. I think, one, it's great content. Two, I think it's great historical context. And ultimately, I don't expect much to change anyway.
I think the discussion needs to be around who is voting in these and what, and how, do you shift around who votes in them every year a little bit? Like, maybe you get 3 years on and 2 years off or something like that. I don't know. And you stagger it so it gets a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, there's no way you can't eliminate them. Like, they're two in the fabric of things, but you could tweak them. And I think that would make more sense.
Well, I think that one piece of this, and again, obviously this is very self-serving on my part, but I do think that we have a stable of really good national writers who could potentially be a little bit more part of the conversation. I mean, a lot of people who are voting in these polls are local beat writers, right? People who are on a regular Saturday, very involved with one individual team. And ultimately, I'm watching 25 games a week. Well, somebody who's on the ground every single week doesn't really have the ability to do that the same way. And so, I think that we could sort of mix things up from that perspective, lean more into regional writers, lean more into national writers, lean more into conference level writers. I mean, you look across college football right now, there are many people who do that sort of thing as opposed to just being on the ground with one team every single week. But, I think that the other piece of this too is again, when I look at the preseason polls, there are individual ballots, for example, that maybe you quibble with. I didn't really think that there was anything that off, for example, about the preseason AP Top 25 until games were played.
Shahan, coming out of last weekend, as we start to look ahead to another massive weekend on the schedule, you have this top that's sort of forming your Ohio State, Miami, Oregon, and then a batch of SEC teams. You also have teams falling right out of the poll in the case of Texas, Penn State, shocking UCLA. What stood out to you? What did you walk away from last weekend thinking about the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to start with those Texas and Penn State performances. Obviously, a little bit of a different situation, right? I mean, Penn State played a team that was truly horrendous. I think that Texas just kind of looks lackluster right now. But these are both teams that I think, for all intents and purposes, their seasons are over. They were arguably the two favorites to win the national championship. They came into the year at number 1 and number 2. Texas became the first team to start number 1 and lose their opener in 35 years. Yeah, it was on the road against Ohio State. That's obviously important context, but still pretty crazy that happened. And then for Penn State, they go to double overtime against Oregon, and they handled the next week so poorly, going down 27-7 against a UCLA team that didn't have a single win, and many expected, including on that beat, by the way, to go winless winless in 2025. So, I mean, I think that more than anything else, this is a statement about how unpredictable these rosters are week to week, because Penn State, again, like they had played high quality games. They had played well against an Oregon team that we all think is potentially one of the best in the country. But I think that when you have these kind of years, it's like these moments where you don't get up for games. It's moments that you don't have leadership. It's moments that you have emotional hangovers. I think you can get got in just a different kind of way in 2025. I mean, for Texas, similar deal, right? They came off of a bye, but they also have a look-ahead spot to a top 10 Oklahoma team. Like, I think that it's very difficult to stay focused on the task at hand. And these rosters at this point probably aren't good enough to just take weeks off mentally. And ultimately, I think it makes for a really exciting sport. And also, it essentially means that Texas and Penn State seasons are all but over.
Yeah, they have no room for error. They would both have to run the table, and even now with Penn State losing to Oregon, that might not be enough. So I love it. I they're one of the cookie cutters, and like somebody, I don't know who it was, Kirby or whoever Kirby must say, there's no one going running the table anymore. It's just going to be really hard. If they do, my God, good for them. Are we mentally, as fans of teams that normally are penciled in at 10-2 and better, are those fans ready for 9-3s and 8-4s, et cetera? Or is it bottom line, doesn't matter, get to the playoff?
Well, I think that what people are really going to start feeling is when the SEC moves to 9 conference games, that's going to be an absolute cluster for some of these programs, right? Like you have a team. I mean, again, I think that Oklahoma is really good this year, but you have a team like Oklahoma where all of a sudden 8-4 is going to be a good year. Like this is a team that wins 10 games every single year. You have Alabama, of course, they're kind of going through it in their own way right now. It's going to take some adjustment because we talked about this last year with Alabama. I mean, they lost a full quarter of their regular season games. That doesn't happen very often in Tuscaloosa. I think, Clemson's going to go through that. Georgia's going to go through that. Oklahoma's going to go through that. It's just going to be a huge adjustment as you add an additional conference game. And it's not even necessarily the teams just who push for 10 every single year. Let's take it to the middle class, right? I mean, how hard is that South Carolina job going to become when you play 9 conference games and then also play Clemson every single year? Like just making a bowl game is all of a sudden going to be incredibly difficult, which by the way, is why so many of the middle and lower class teams in that conference push to stay at 8 conference games to just give themselves a bit of breathing room. So I think it's going to change the dynamics in ways that people have not anticipated or understood as yet. And by the way, I'm talking about the SEC a lot. I think the ACC is going to really feel the pain of that as well. Because you look at 2024, they had multiple contenders in that conference who straight up did not play each other the entire regular season. That's going to be a lot more difficult when an extra loss is being handed out to half of the teams every single season.
Well, it's going to make a conference that has fallen behind, at least in, like the gap in the ACC year to year is usually bigger than it is in most every conference between the team that wins it and everybody else. I mean, it's certain years it's one and then the other ones, no matter how many teams have been in it. So they kind of need it for competitive balance a little bit to show to increase their product, but they're also probably, to your point, not really set up to do it, especially since they ate their own last year, right?
No, 100%. And again, imagine last year if SMU has another loss somewhere, right? Because they played a 9th conference game. Well, that's a 1-bid league. That's the world that the Big 12 has lived in for essentially their entire existence since they moved to this 9-game schedule many years ago. And I don't think that people understand what level of a disadvantage it is. Like, imagine that half of the Big 12 teams had one less loss than they did. Imagine that when we're in this situation where all these teams are tied at 7-2, imagine 2 of them were tied at 8-1 and 11-1 overall. Like, it changes the dynamic quite a bit all of a sudden if you lose an additional loss to a conference team. So I do think that this is going to be potentially a bigger deal for the ACC and SEC than they realize. And I'm curious what the backlash ends up being starting in 2026 when this is instituted.
Shahan, Oklahoma, and Texas this weekend. Thought both teams would be in the top 25 until last week, obviously. See that Oklahoma is now a 1.5-point favorite. There's all sorts of speculation about John Mateer. Where is your head at when it comes to this game in Dallas on Saturday?
Well, I think that if John Mateer plays and plays at any reasonable level, I think that Oklahoma could run away with this game. And the reason that I say that is you look at the way that Texas's offense and specifically offensive line played against Florida last week, and they're about to go against an Oklahoma defense that has a really good case of being the best in the country. I don't think it's going to go well. I think that Texas is really going to struggle to run the ball. I think that Arch Manning's going to be rushed. I think that their offensive line is going to get bullied. And by the way, I do think that Texas defense is going to take a step forward after last week. I think that it was a little bit of a look ahead spot for them, but they got absolutely manhandled by a couple of true freshman wide receivers at Florida. Now, Florida's receiving core, in my opinion, is better than Oklahoma's, but I think John Mateer is a substantially better quarterback than DJ Lagway, both in the passing game and in the running game. So if he's playing, I think that Oklahoma wins this pretty easily, but if he's not playing, I mean, we've seen some of the struggles that Michael Hawkins has had on this team, right? I mean, he started in the game last year. They lose 34-3. I don't think that this offense outside of Mateer is all that much better than it was in 2024. They just have a tremendous talent at the quarterback position to cover some things up. So if he doesn't play, I mean, I think it's the difference, you know, if you want to talk in Vegas terms, like that could be a 10-point swing for me, right? And I think that that was a huge part of the calculus of Vegas. I think they're skeptical that he's going to play, whereas bettors are a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah, I do think that that's right. I think if he plays, and by the way, the injury reports come out tonight. I also saw, I guess may have been Paxton that mentioned that tonight. That might be a little bit intriguing where otherwise it's just, we don't know. But now you have the injury report, so at least something on Mateer, questionable, probable, whatever else, will be known tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big deal. I expect certainly that that he's going to be listed as questionable would be my assumption. There's been a lot of optimism around that fan base and that program that he could come back. But the reality of the situation is as well, I mean, he is out there only like less than 3 weeks after having surgery on his hand. And the thing I'm less concerned about is the healing of the bone. I think that'll be handled fine. But it takes some time after physically being cut open to just regain sort of muscle mass and composure, and grip strength is something that I'm certainly interested in. And so, I mean, I think it could be one of those situations where he's maybe 70% in that hand. But one, you take his awareness and running ability, and two, you just kind of tell him, like, try to keep the ball out of trouble, right? Go down if you need to, try to only throw if it's there. But, it's sort of a dynamic that's going to be interesting because we don't really know how that's going to work itself out.
Given the fact that these two defenses are still, I know Texas got a little exposed last week, but the fronts are so good. And the quarterbacks, like if it's Hawkins versus Manning, neither of them, are probably going to light it up. I mean, this does reek of like a 17-13 Red River, doesn't it?
Yeah, if Hawkins looks like he's going to be the guy, I would definitely take the under in this game. I just don't think that either team is going to be able to get much going. I mean, the sort of dirty little secret about Texas is that they have had zero running game to this point. I do imagine, and again, we'll get the injury reports tonight, that we're more likely to see CJ Baxter back in this game. I think it's a big moment for them, and they know that they need to win this game. So I expect Baxter out there. But, I don't think that he's necessarily somebody who's going to take over this game. I don't think he's going to rush for 100 yards against this defense. And for Oklahoma, similar deal. They've gotten very little from their running backs. Jaden Knott, the very talented Cal transfer, has been a total non-factor on this team. They're going to each have to figure some stuff out. I mean, I've been at 2 of the last 3 Red Rivers. I didn't see the super competitive one with Dylan Gabriel. I saw the ones with 2 Oklahoma backup quarterbacks. Well, I think it could look a lot like that, but maybe on both sides of the ball.
Shahan, there's a lot of really good games we could ask you about, but we know you're short on time here. We've kept you a good few minutes already. So I want to ask you about a game that you maybe weren't expecting to talk about. South Florida and North Texas in Denton. Mean Green, 1.5-point favorites. Bulls there at number 24. I just think this is so cool. I think the job Eric Morse has done is obviously exceptional, and Golish down there in Tampa has done a good job. It's probably going to get lost somewhat, but what are your thoughts, if any, on this game this weekend?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts about this game. I'm glad you asked about it. So I'm actually going to be in attendance, first of all, on Friday night. Very excited about that. But this is such a huge opportunity for North Texas. The big thing that I'm curious about is how North Texas offensive line deals with a really physical South Florida defensive line. I actually think that the game could be won or lost to that position. But the thing you love about it, they've got a great young quarterback in Drew Mestamaker. I wrote a big story about him a couple weeks ago. Hadn't started a game since a freshman year of high school on the B team. Now he's the starting quarterback at North Texas, and somebody who could be on power conference radars as soon as next year. But this is a North Texas offense that's really dynamic everywhere. They're running the ball at a high level. They've got a great young receiver in Miles Coleman, and defensively, they brought over Skylar Cassidy from Sam Houston, who was a big part of them winning 9 games last year, along with some of their best defensive players as well. So this is a team that is as complete as it's been in multiple years. But again, I point to that trench play for a reason. South Florida has numerous players who started their career at SEC schools now starting on that defensive front. I'm curious if North Texas can handle it. I'm going to lean South Florida in that game, but I certainly reserve the right to be surprised.
In your article that you wrote, Craig, what was the list of quarterbacks that Eric Morris
Oh, no,
it's unbelievable.
I mean, it's insane. It was Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, Cam Ward, and John Mateer.
Yeah,
that he just listed off that he's been a part of the recruitment directly of every single one of those guys. It's an unbelievable list, 100%. And he's just getting started.
Yeah, and on top of that, the guy who started for them last year, Chandler Morris, just led a huge upset against Florida State. So it's
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, it's crazy. And you know what's funny too is that I've covered Eric Morris since he was in his second year at Incarnate Word, and they had a quarterback at the time that they were really excited about, John Copeland from Argyle, and they just bring in Cam Ward and it changes everything. Like, they have created magic at every single step. And by the way, both of their last 2 quarterbacks have transferred to the power conference level, and they feel like Drew Mestamaker is the best of the bunch.
Shahan, good stuff, man. As always, thank you very much. Enjoy that one. In 2 really good teams that are trying to get themselves, one in the top 25, one of the big wins of the year against Florida, and also what Eric Morris has done with North Texas. Shahan Jarrah with us. Normally Tuesdays, last couple of weeks, Wednesdays, at around 4 o'clock today, a little bit earlier. Around the corner, he played at OU. He's a part, of course, of the Oklahoma show that he does. Gabe Eichert from the Oklahoma Breakdown with Teddy Lehman, who made one of the more famous touchdown plays in the Texas OU rivalry. That and more. He's next. This is 365 Sports. The Baylor Club inside McLean Stadium up I-35 in Waco. No game this weekend. They're on the road the following weekend, but there's still a lot of energy inside McLean Stadium when it comes to the Baylor Club because of what they are when you want to go have lunch or dinner or maybe even brunch on the weekend, because they have remodeled inside the Baylor Club ever since the general manager, Nick Colwell, arrived. They started working, tweaking, and getting the way he wanted it or what he thought was the right look. And it was, pretty good anyway. And then on game day, they also had the big tailgate at Knox Hall, food, fun, festivities, music, etc. So anytime Baylor's at home, look for the Knox Hall tailgate with the Baylor Club. And if you want to go and become a member, get a great meal, you can do that with the chefs they have and the food. The menu is fantastic. The Baylor Club, the amenities and more inside McLean Stadium off I-35 in Waco.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At BK Ford, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK Ford can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK Ford.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with Sikkim 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients that have made our company a success.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Gabe Eichert, Oklahoma breakdown. Also Teddy Lehman, 2 former Sooners, part of that Texas OU rivalry. And Gabe always very busy and joins us. It's been a while. Great to see you. Good to have you with Craig and Paul, David Smoak. Gabe, thank you very much for your time. How do you explain for somebody that's been in the trenches, who's been a part of that rivalry, what are the emotions of this week?
It's the best. It's the best week of the year. It's still my favorite week of the year, and I haven't played in it since 2013. It's just the build up to the game. It just feels different than every other week. A lot of players and coaches will tell you have to treat every game the same. That's a lie. We all know that's not the truth. This week's different. It just is. You know what it means to both fan bases. You know how important it is for your program, for recruiting, for everything. And boys, we got an interesting one this year. Texas finds itself as a 3-2 football team, and OU sitting there at 5-0 with some high aspirations now for what this season can be. And then you have the whole John Mateer, will he play or will he not play situation looming over this entire football game. But yeah, walking down that ramp, stepping on that field in the Cotton Bowl, there is nothing like it. It is the best.
Let's just pretend that what we know about medical science is true and that John Mateer is probably not going to play this week. And it's Michael Hawkins. He was in this thing last year, so at least there's no surprise on the tension and all that, the buildup. He's familiar with all that. What do you do against a very good Texas defense to make sure that Michael Hawkins is in the best place to succeed and you don't put him in places where it's his fault that you fall behind?
Yeah, first of all, it did not go particularly well for him a year ago, but it's a completely different set of circumstances for Michael Hawkins this season as compared to last year. Last year, all the wide receivers are hurt. Offensive line was in much worse shape than this year. You've got Torrey Blaylock at running back. You're just feeling a lot better about the pieces around Michael Hawkins. And then you've got Ben Arbuckle, his offense, his play calling, which is just on a different level than it was at this time a year ago with what the Sooners were doing offensively. Michael Hawkins, if it is Michael Hawkins there on Saturday for the Sooners at quarterback, then everyone around him needs to play well. That's kind of how I view it. This run game for Oklahoma has not been nearly efficient enough. It's hard to imagine that it's really going to get going against a really good Texas defense and a stout Texas defensive line. But you got to be able to find some things. I think that's where Hawkins and his athleticism and speed could come into play. I think you run him more if you're Ben Arbuckle than what we saw from them against Kent State, where Hawkins was trying to operate the offense similarly to what we've seen from John Mateer. And although OU's offensive line has been really good in pass protection this season, they were really good against Michigan, really good against Auburn. They struggled against Kent State in pass protection, which was strange. So there weren't many opportunities for Michael Hawkins to sit in the pocket, read coverage, and make decisions with the football. It was strange to watch, honestly. But I think if it is Hawkins, you got to get him some easy throws early and build some confidence. Last year happened, right? So get him in that building, get him on that field, and get him some easy throws early. It's clear that Texas is willing to give up throws to the running back in the flat. Like, that's by design with their defense, with what Pete Kwiatkowski's doing. They're going to give it to you, throw it to the running back in the flat. Get him some perimeter screens, like get him some layups early to build that confidence, and then run him. The guy can fly. Like, he's a really athletic guy. I prefer the stuff where he threatens the edges, threatens the perimeter of the defense, because he's not built like Mateer is built. Mateer's kind of built like a linebacker, and they've run him a lot on the gap scheme stuff in some of the QB run game where he's running counter. I think Hawkins, it's more of a zone read, split zone read, pin pull, QB sweep down and around type plays to get him out on the edges and make Texas's defensive backs tackle in space. But you still got to have your pass game. Passing the ball has been the strength of this offense up to this point. The strength of this offense is the wide receivers. So you're still going to have to take your shots down the field. But if it is Hawkins, I'd like to see Arbuckle get him some easy throws early, and I'd like to see him get Hawkins more involved as a runner.
Gabe, what is the base point of why just a more traditional running game has not been more established or not as successful as the passing game, the quarterback run game? Is it a product of various things? Is it just by design? How would you describe that after obviously feeling great about Jade not coming in and Torrey Blaylock, the young freshman, and all that? Why has it been more of a focal point or impactful, I should say?
Well, you never want your run game to suck. So let me make that clear. It just hasn't been, they have not created a lot of space in the running game. And personally, I think that's some of the scheme stuff that they're running with how they block some of their inside zone and some of those plays. But they just haven't created a lot of movement at the point of attack with the offensive line. This is not a group that's just roaring off the ball and moving people. That's not what they've been up to this point. I would love to see that on Saturday in the Red River Rivalry. I would love to see that. I hope I get to watch that. But they just haven't gotten a ton of movement. So there hasn't been a ton of space for the running backs. And then when there have been creases, OU's running backs have had a tough time making the one unblocked guy miss in space. I love what I've seen from Torrey Blaylock. I have to consistently remind myself he's a true freshman and that he's going to be very, very, very good down the line. But he kind of just has one speed, and it's like full tilt. with time, he'll learn to change speeds and maybe show a little more patience instead of just, sticking it up in there each and every time. And that's been the issue for OU is there just have not been a lot of explosive runs, especially for the running back position this season. And once again, it's hard for me to imagine that they're going to come against what I believe is a very good Texas defense, despite what the record looks like. I think it's kind of the combination of not being able to create a ton of space, a ton of movement with the offensive line, and then the backs have not done a particularly good job at making guys miss, like running through the trash, running through tackles. And really the run game, the best part has been John Mateer when he was healthy and what he has added with his legs. So we'll see what that looks like depending on if he plays or not. If he does play, I wonder how much QB run game they're going to get to. I wonder how many situations Arbuckle's even going to put him in to where he can pull the ball and take off. I don't know, but just spending some time around Mateer early in the season, if he plays, he seems like the type of guy who's going to have a hard time turning it off, like turning the way that he plays off.
Mm-hmm.
And that could lead him to, he'll take some hits. And every time he takes a hit, if he does play, half the Cotton Bowl is going to be holding their breath.
Gabe, you were a part of that series, and you mentioned it. What's it like? What is a deeper emotion, winning that game or losing that game?
Well, I went 3-1. So you
lost to the one year they were the national championship team, right? Or was that your redshirt year?
I played in 4 of them. I played in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 13. We beat the absolute brakes off them in 11 and 12. I mean, embarrassed them up and down the field in both of those games. There's not much of a better feeling than that, especially 2012. Like, I was the captain, got to put the golden hat on first, like the whole thing. That was an incredible feeling and an incredible experience as a guy that is born and raised in Oklahoma City, grew up OU fan, and got to live out a lifelong dream and go and play there. But I think about 2013 the most, and that's the one I lost.
Mm-hmm.
Case McCoy turned into Aaron Rodgers that day, which was awesome. I still think about it. We didn't play particularly well offensively. We turned it over too much, too careless with the football. And it's funny. It's funny how losses stick with you more than the wins. I don't know what that says about me, but I talked to a lot of guys that played, not just OU guys, but guys I played with in the NFL, and that seems to be a common theme, that the losses stick with you more than the wins. I don't know if that's healthy, but it just is what it is, guys. But yes, it is. There are few things better than winning that game and walking outside to see your family. And my mom and dad were always waiting there with a corn dog and a funnel cake for me. And those things taste so, so good after you win that game. And after a loss, it just doesn't hit the same voice.
Gabe Eichert, former Oklahoma lineman with us, and now a part of course, the Oklahoma podcast that he does with Teddy Lehman, Oklahoma Breakdown on 365 Sports.
Gabe, I wouldn't question. I think it's natural at every level, you remember the losses more than the wins. You think, like, no matter, like, it's high school, little league, or whatever, you remember the strikeout in your big moment over, like, the time you did get the hit. So it's completely human to do that. It's probably what drives us to be better at whatever we do. You just want to dwell on it too much. Do you have a personal moment from one of those games where you beat the brakes off them, though, that you do think about? Like, you think about, like, when you're in those moments of, like, man, I'm just having a rough day, you think about, oh, I laid that guy out. That was a good day.
No, my favorite moment actually was before the game in 2012. We had just destroyed them in 2011, and so anyone that's been to the Cotton Bowl, the locker rooms are in the same tunnel. Like you go down the same ramp. And I was not a guy that talked like a lot of noise or anything like that. I usually was too tired. I was, I mean, I was a fat guy. You only had so much energy, right? But before that 2012 game, I had a lot to say to their defensive line as we walked down the ramp. And this was like way before the game even started. This is like centers and quarterbacks go out first. And I don't know what got into me, but I'm chirping. Like they're going out to do their warm up and start getting loose and everything. And I'm talking. And I knew the moment that they didn't say anything back that we were going to beat their ass again. And that's exactly what happened. And it was one of those where I was like, man, I really thought I was going to, I was kind of going out of my comfort zone, trying to have some fun, talk a little noise back and forth, and nothing, crickets. And I told every other guy on that offensive line, I was like, boys, I can't say all the words I said to the group, but basically I'm feeling good about today. Let's go out there and take care of business. And that's exactly what we did.
Man, that sounds like a feeling not everybody gets to experience, obviously, but it sounds like a very, very cool feeling to have right before a big game. I don't know what it's going to feel like before this game.
That was a 63-21 finish in 2012, and that was with them scoring on the last play of the game.
Oh, yeah. So, wow. Yeah. Even better. Even better. Doesn't have to sweat, basically. Gabe, you talked a bit at the beginning about this Oklahoma offense. What does this Oklahoma defense, you think, face this weekend? What have been your opinions on all of the talk about the star quarterback over on the other side, lack of a run game over there, at least through what we've seen so far? Talent, obviously, Texas has talent, but what kind of offense do you think that the Sooners are walking in against coming up against the Longhorns?
Clearly, everyone wants to talk about Arch Manning. Arch has missed some throws. He's held on to it a little too long at times, but especially I watched that Florida game, and on the list of problems that Texas offense has right now, Arch Manning is very low on that list. I thought he played really well considering the circumstances. He got sacked 6 times. He should have got sacked 10, 12.
Yeah.
And all of Texas's issues offensively are because their offensive line is playing poorly. They have taken a large step back along the offensive line compared to what they've had the last couple of years. And, I expected them to take a step back because they sent 4 guys to the NFL, right? I mean, if you're sending guys to the NFL, you're sending draft picks, Kelvin Banks, first rounder, you're sending those types of guys. Like, it's not easy to replace those guys, but they didn't go out and get anyone in the portal. So I thought that they felt good about the level of talent in that room and the development in that room. And it's clear to me their evaluation was off because they are not playing at a high level along the offensive line. And that's why the run game's not going. That and Wisner's been banged up. Baxter's been banged up. So their 2 go-to guys at that position have not been in the lineup consistently for them. But Sarkisian's offense, and I'm a massive fan of Steve Sarkisian and the way that he builds plays, the way that he sequences things. All the stuff he likes to do is built off having an efficient run game. Being efficient in outside zone, being efficient with split zone, being efficient with counter. He always has a play action pass, a screen, or a couple different screens. Like all of those concepts build off of running it efficiently, and they're just not running it efficiently because they're not getting movement at the point of attack along the offensive line. I've studied their offensive line very closely just because I was curious as to kind of what's going wrong with them offensively. And in my opinion, they're much worse at 4 of the 5 positions than they were a year ago. They're not worse at right guard because DJ Campbell's still there, and he was their right guard last year. But they've taken a considerable step back at the other 4 positions, and I think left guard in particular has been a big, big problem for them. They've tried 3 different guys, and none of them have been able to get the job done. So I think that is an area that OU's got a big, big advantage on Saturday. Florida's defensive line absolutely got after Texas's O-line, and OU's defensive line is better than Florida's. So Arch Manning's going to have to be special in this game. If Texas O-line plays the way that they've been playing, plays the way that, kind of continues to play the way that they've been playing, like Arch is going to just have to make some things happen with his legs, extending plays and throwing it down the field, or getting out as a scrambler and making something happen. Like you go back and watch the Florida game, their biggest plays in that game are Arch avoiding a sack and throwing it down the field to Ryan Wingo for a touchdown, or their longest run of the game is a 36-yard run by Arch. Their left guard's beat right away, and he gets out of it and takes off and goes down the sideline for 36 yards. Like, it's hard to imagine with what I've seen from Texas' offensive line that they're going to be able to block OU's defensive line with all the talent and all the movement that they use. I think it could be a struggle for the Longhorns up front.
Gabe, great to have you. I know you'll enjoy the weekend and love the podcast. Again, the Oklahoma breakdown with former Oklahoma linebacker Teddy Lehman, who had the famous pick when Roy Williams had the Chris Sims arm hit.
Teddy always says all he was doing was just standing in the right spot.
I know. Yeah, he was just there. Oh, there's a bag of laundry right here.
Smokey, I assume you guys have some Dallas listeners and viewers.
Yes.
We are doing a live show on Friday at 11 a.m. at Texas Live. Listen to this, boys. We're batting leadoff for Barry Switzer, Mac Brown, and Brian Bosworth.
Wow.
Who will take the stage after us. So if you're in the Dallas area, we'll be live at Texas Live there by Jerry World, by the Rangers Stadium at 11 a.m. So don't come if you don't want a deep, thorough analysis and breakdown of the matchups in this game. If you're looking for generic football talk, don't show up.
Yeah, okay. It's at Texas Live. And of course, Friday afternoon, we had Mac on yesterday. Great stuff. And thank you very much, Gabe. We appreciate your time. Great to have you on the show. Good luck.
Smokey, you're the man.
And
thanks,
you
boys.
Too.
Have a good one.
Eichert with us from OU, played there. His redshirt year, Texas won. That was the year they played for the national title. Then he went 3-1, as you mentioned. And over the 2 years of 11-12, they outscored Texas 118-38. There have been some blowouts in this series. Back to that game in 2000 when Stoops won the national championship.
Yeah, it's gone both ways.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, Matt got him a couple, and there's been some here in recent years. But, it's one of the top 3 games in all of college football, in my opinion. I mean, there's Michigan, Ohio State, and then I leave another spot for whoever you want to throw in there because there's a billion options. But I think Texas, Oklahoma belongs in like the upper tier. It always matters, even when they're not very good. It matters because it matters to not only them, but it matters to those around them to some degree as well. And that'll certainly be the case this weekend because Texas is either getting eliminated 7 weeks into the season as the preseason number 1, basically from playoff contention, and also digging a hell of a hole in the SEC, or Oklahoma suddenly eats their first pin, and then all things are equal between the two, and Texas has a heads up, and they'll both be looking to kind of figure out where they go from there. But this game's unpredictable. It's like, does Michael Hawkins start or does John Mateer start? I think that's the tipping point in how I feel about this game, as we'll get to. But I know we got picks later. We need to come back because it looks very likely that there will be another major head coaching job open soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. There's some new reporting that we'll get to.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise, but it is very interesting what's now coming out of a certain school on the East Coast in the ACC and we'll stop there.
Well, yeah, because we have the Big 12 MOJO rankings. You decide when you want to bring that up.
I want to
We'll
talk
be
about
there.
this now.
Okay,
and
do
we'll
it.
do the MOJO
All
rankings
right,
after.
do it. Craig kind of typed something on his screen and shoved it over to me to read it. I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, my gosh.
All right, so you want me to just get into it here?
Yeah,
okay.
Yep, go ahead.
So Ollie Connolly from the Read Optional newsletter, he also, I guess, writes for The Guardian, but he just posted a tweet thread within the last hour. And very interesting stuff here. Have you seen this, Paul?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so per sources, per Ollie Connolly, Bill Belichick, probably the name you had in mind, has discussed buyout options with North Carolina's hierarchy. Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing with another team or in the media. Members of Belichick's coaching staff have already spoken to other schools that are expected to be in the college football playoff about taking on roles during the postseason. From one coach, quote, "The rats are leaving the ship. Some staffers believe a change will come within 2 weeks. Reports of serious recruiting violations remain under investigation at UNC. Recruiting and practice violations have already been proven by the school, according to multiple sources. Using recruiting violations to knock down a coach's buyout has become a standard practice. If Belichick cannot find a landing spot to trigger his own buyout, he's expected to accept a greatly reduced, compromised rate." You're already dealing with only $1 million anyways, but I guess you still get a few bucks off if you want to. And then he continues, Belichick's communication with his staff in the past 2 weeks has been described as, quote, "weird and distant" by multiple members of UNC's coaching staff. Multiple coaches were unable to get a hold of him during UNC's bye week. And to wrap it all up, have we ever dropped an F-bomb on this show?
Paul has.
Okay, well, then it's not that special now.
No, we have. Yeah,
so Ollie wrapped it up by saying, from one UNC defensive assistant, quote, "What we've done to these kids is effed up." So there you go. The latest on the Bill Belichick North Carolina partnership. It's at the halfway point, and all the rooms are on fire, and everybody's just looking for escape routes, and it's going to be over very soon.
What's the Batman scene when the Joker's walking out of buildings in the fire?
Yeah,
That's
the hospital,
what that
Dark
looks
Knight,
like.
Dark Knight, yeah.
Dark Knight.
It's absolutely, and look, I don't normally advocate for firing your coach in the middle of the year because I don't know how much good it really does you, but I think in this case they need to.
Oh, yeah.
Like they absolutely need to. They need to move on. Hit that, or the media thing is a really big deal. ESPN will hire him back in a heartbeat. You would think, or somebody.
Not for college football coverage, hopefully.
What program, even with his name, with what they would know now, would do?
There's no college football program that should touch him. There's no reason to.
The NFL already told him they were done with him a year ago. If they wanted him, there were a bunch of open coaching jobs llast year, and none of them fit him. So he's not going back to the NFL either. Just probably needs to be in the media and enjoy retirement.
Yeah, I think I just think that what looked to be a fun, entertaining, and even though fun was in not in like a, oh, that's a good old wholesome fun, but in like car wreck type of fun. That was one thing, but yeah, why would you bring that on board? Even if like you wanted to pick his brain, and in college, there's no reason to pick his brain. He doesn't add anything of value to the college game. So would an NFL team want to bring him on in like a silent role? I suppose, but I don't know what good that would do. I mean, what's he going to provide there? I mean, he was a great coach, but that doesn't mean he knows how to run everything for the rest of his life. And so, yeah, here was the initial start of the thread. If you want to read it, I just read it in full. There's like 5-6 tweets in a row where Ollie Connolly lays this out. But, I mean, as you hear, North Carolina's already got the reasons to fire him lined up with recruiting violations. Like, they're ready to –
is one NCAA violation.
They're ready to roll
and
even try to save some money, which they don't really need to save much of because it's only $1 million buyout, which was part of the sweetheart deal of bringing him on. It's like, well, hey, if this doesn't work – and plenty of people saw this type of a conclusion coming, maybe not this quickly, but it's also not surprising at all. And I am with Paul that, yeah, I don't know what good coaching fires do really in the middle of the season, but in this case, I do think North Carolina needs to wash their hands as quickly as possible. And actually, instead of trying to hire a coach that will get you into the Big Ten or whatever kind of other big picture talk they were having, like maybe just be good at football and let's start there.
For once in your life.
Just be good.
but they forced Mac to leave, and maybe it was time. And he admitted that yesterday. 6 consecutive bowl appearances, even though it wasn't quite what they expected. He was classy yesterday and not talking about North Carolina, though.
Yeah, we had Mac on yesterday. For those that missed it, he didn't get much into Belichick, which you wouldn't expect him to because he's classy in that way. But there you go. I had to read that because it came down here in the last hour, and it's just like, wow. And nothing that's all that surprising as far as North Carolina regretting their purchase. But they have got the ducks in a row now to get him out of there. What looks like it could be in the relatively near future. And then what do you do after that if you're North Carolina? I guess you use all the stuff that you had set up to lure the next head coach. But, yeah, it was a high-risk, high-reward type of a hire, given Belichick's lack of experience in the college game and just his age and all the weird off-the-field storylines that you were dealing with, reality shows and all that crap. But it looks like they've about had their fill now, so they're going to get rid of Bill.
Huge story. This thing looks like it's not when, but imminent, and there'll be some legal lees or whatever. But, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all that he is basically like wet tissue, and it's just a matter of when they move on. We'll have Craig's Big 12 Mojo rankings. We need to make our college football picks. And around the corner as well, we have Zack Gelb just after 5 and that clump of a bunch of fun. The top 5, quizzes, poll results, and the wheel, and more. Thank you for your time. If you haven't, please subscribe, hit the like button, and this is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, all of the incentives, most of the incentives that they had from back in September carried over into this month. And we're now, almost 1/4 of the way past the 1/4 mark of October. Here's what I can do. I can throw out a bunch of numbers and discounts and APR financing and months, etc. But they have Ram trucks. It speaks for itself. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat with Ted Teague. The general manager and CEO, David Gray, is there to help you find the vehicle that you want, whether it's pre-owned or what they have right now that's brand new, coming out of what they bring from, of course, the corporate. And there have been discounts of APR financing, 0% for 60 months or 70 months. There are discounts of what MSRP of 12 to 15 or 16,000. If you are ready to buy a vehicle and they are trying to make sure you find one there, and I know maybe it's end of the year, you're like, man, this would be great a year if you can get to it and get yourself a car for Christmas to start the new year. They have fleets available if you're a business owner. They have cars, trucks, and SUVs. The Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Jeep Wagoneer are special. Very nice. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
SoftwareDeals.com is here for one reason: to partner with IT professionals and provide them with fantastic software and licensing at ridiculously low prices. We don't have the overhead of a multinational, publicly traded tycoon corporation. We can afford to give those savings to you and your buyers. We know the struggles of small businesses and what it takes to stay afloat in a competitive marketplace.
A leader within the industry, Respawn fuses more than 75 years of ergonomic expertise with gaming culture to create best-in-class chairs. We believe that comfort and performance should be inclusively designed into every gaming chair we create, which is why we're immersed in the gaming community. Respawn is for every gamer. Our products are for professionals and casual players and everyone in between. We don't just make good-looking gear, we bring experience. Visit respawnproducts.com today and find your chair for the next great adventure.
At Prime Putt, we obsessed over every little detail, working with experts to innovate something as simple as a putting mat. We focused on the things that mattered most to golfers, wanting to lower their scores, perfect feedback, developing good form, lifetime durability. Prime Putt is a mat that will perform perfectly and last forever. PrimePutt.com.
What do you want? What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Time for the Big 12 MOJO rankings here in week number 7. We're across or right at the halfway point of college football's 2025 season, which is kind of alarming, surprising, and that's just the way it kind of goes, though, is you wait so long for it to get here, and then it's over before you know it. But we got a little bit of a ways to go. I did want to make one comment real quick on a tweet that I saw about the Bill Belichick story that we were just talking about, where it looks like he's on his way out. Salute to S. Brad Thompson, who said there are going to be a lot of kids wearing Chapel Bill T-shirts in Uganda. So, yeah, I think he's right. Wearing those Texas Rangers 2011 World Series shirts and those Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl champ shirts, and yeah, that's definitely going to be the case. So
who is this Bill? He's very popular.
Yeah, Chapel Bill. Who's this guy? But there you go. So let's get into the Big 12 MOJO rankings for week number 7. This is power rankings with my own personal twist on it. I factor in maybe a few of the outside things to kind of tip the scales when we got things that are even across the board for the most part. And so let's dive into the bottom 4, which are unchanged. If you guys look at the schedule from last week, there looks like there is an upper class, a middle class, and a lower class in the Big 12. Now, I don't say that in any disparaging type of way, but there is definitely a group of contenders at the top that you can argue are 5 or 6 deep. And then there's a group of schools, like a handful that are in the middle that, depending on how things kind of go, they can one week be trending upward, one week trending downward. And then there's a batch of schools that are just at the bottom right now.
Like a teeter-totter, right?
Yeah. And these schools are just kind of at the bottom right now. Oklahoma State, obviously, things are really kind of on hold and doing the best they can with what they can, and players jumping into the portal. Issues at quarterback, just not a lot going right, but they're playing hard. They played really scrappy against Baylor, but they are clearly in the worst spot of any school right now. And they've already owned that, and they're looking ahead to next season, but they are number 16 right now. West Virginia at number 15. I think it became clear maybe in the last couple of weeks for those it wasn't clear for beforehand that West Virginia is very much in a rebuilding year. BYU handled them pretty easily. I know maybe for some who went and looked at the final score that it looked a little bit different or a little bit closer, but it really wasn't. So West Virginia now I have at number 15. At number 14, Colorado. I'll say this about Colorado. I actually think they're better than I gave them credit for a week ago when I talked. They're just not a very good team. I still feel that way to some degree, but I was really impressed by how scrappy they've been the last couple of weeks. Even though the quarterback play has been very erratic, the tackling's been very erratic. They've actually been able to run the ball pretty well. They've been able in these games with both BYU and TCU the last couple of weeks. We're leading TCU in the fourth quarter, but they just can't finish. And now they find themselves at 2-4, and they are at 0-3 in the Big 12. So I don't think things are like super negative, but the results are not positive right now. I think maybe they're a team that can make a little bit of noise down the stretch. And then UCF, you talk about injuries to quarterbacks and close losses, and UCF's a team that's experiencing a lot of that right now. I do think there is an upward trajectory with Scott Frost. I think there's a good vibe. I just think that it's going to take another offseason or two to get it to where they want it to be, but back-to-back losses now against the Kansas schools. Had an opportunity, got stuffed on the goal line. I don't know if that was a badass goal line stand by Kansas. this past weekend. So not able to finish the job against the Jayhawks. And because of that, they are sitting at 3-2. But as far as this bottom bunch goes, I think they've got the best mojo going right now, even though Colorado is maybe not as bad as it appears, at least in front of the scenes. But your record is what it is. So here's my bottom 4 right now.
Yeah, look, there have been some good moments, for Colorado and UCF the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the win over Pitt was great for West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
But of all the teams in the bottom 4, UCF is the one where you can kind of see the clear direction. West Virginia, I think I know the direction. They're just not going to be able to drive in that direction until they get the guys.
You got to have wheels on the car.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I know where they're going. Colorado, I don't really know where they're headed. Like, I don't know what they're going to do to adjust to the post-Travis Hunter world that they're living in, and that first flurry of recruits that Deion was able to get when he went there. And Oklahoma State, we don't know where they're going until we know who the next boss is going to be of the football program. But Scott Frost really seems in his element at UCF. Craig, a guy, and you and I get tweets from a guy every week talking about UCF. And I met him when I was there. Really nice guy, and he tailgates a lot.
Sir tailgate a lot. Yeah.
Tailgates a lot. Great guy. I went to his tailgate. Really good tailgate.
Shout out.
But which is pretty much all of UCF is one big tailgate. But they feel good about it as a fan base. They feel comfortable, and it looks like Scott Frost is got some things, but he just doesn't have his players yet. Which same like the other new coaches, they don't have their players yet.
Yeah. So
Colorado has Iowa State, Utah back to back coming.
Yeah,
up.
I mean they're and I do factor in also what's ahead. What are you looking at as far as stormy seas go, and how does that affect sort of the overall vibe and product? And so here's your 4 here. Now let's bump up a little bit, and we got that bottom. I'm telling you that bottom group. K-State looked like they were going to get out of this bottom group. They were going to start going more towards the middle, and they made a little bit of a stride, but they got to stay where they are. If you look at it, I went and put a red mark or a green mark, like green for win, red for loss, and almost the entire top half is green in the Big 12. The entire bottom half is red. I mean, not quite, but it's pretty damn close to that. And as you see, all the teams in the bottom lost last week, so they remain unchanged. Kansas State, I don't want to throw reckless speculation out, but it is fair and it is accurate to say that nothing has felt right there since Chris Kleiman's personal issues last year, whatever that all entailed, like private matter, health, like whatever that was. It felt like we had a couple days where we talked about, like, is he going to retire? And then they're like, no, he's going to be back. But I'm starting to wonder about that again. Or is he going to go somewhere else and maybe go back to like a Dakota school or something?
I think he's going to be a candidate at Iowa.
Okay.
Eventually.
Well,
because that's where he's from. And he fits, like, he's the modern version of Kirk Ferentz, right? Like he shares all those same kind of philosophical things, but he's willing to try new stuff. As opposed to Kirk Ferentz, who's like, look, I've had a bag phone since 1994.
Yeah.
I don't need to look at the internet on my phone.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to recklessly speculate, but just stuff has not felt right there since dating back to late last year. And the record shows that. And they had a great showing from Avery Johnson against Baylor, but some coaching mistakes and just some big mistakes like Avery Johnson's pick 6. And things just aren't lining up for them. I mean, 4 losses by a combined 13 points, guys. It's that type of a year for them. So I don't know. Maybe Kleiman's there for the next 10 years, but the vibes are off. The vibes are not good. The mojo is not good right now. Houston taking a loss, and that was a team that was kind of teetering. Like, where do you really place them? And look, they lost to Texas Tech. There's no shame in that. Most teams are going to. You lost by 24. Most teams are going to lose by that, if not more. But the Wegman injury leaves everything kind of foggy right now. I don't love their offense, even with him healthy. The defense will keep them in games, but I had to drop them a little bit because they've been kind of hanging around based on just continuing to win. But they got to slide a little bit with that loss, and now the uncertainty of what's to come at quarterback. Arizona got bumping up a spot. They're 4-1. Overall, and obviously with a very intriguing game coming up this weekend where they could really turn the league on its head if they're able to upset BYU, but handle their business against Oklahoma State as they should. Baylor, slowly, like a spot a week. I do think they are more of a top-tier team than a bottom-tier team. I know people don't love them, but they are talented enough to be in basically every game. And every game on the remainder of their schedule, they have a chance to win. But as I wrote in an article for the 365 Sports newsletter, they could finish at 10-2, realistically. They could also finish at 4-8, realistically. Like, that's where they are. So they are at number 9. There is the second 4.
They, if they don't need to all of a sudden become, the best defense in the country. If they can get a little bit better, they have the kind of offense.
They weren't during the Browse years.
Exactly. Like, you don't need to.
What Phil Bennett was asked to do is give the offense or give 2 stops. Yeah. One in the first half and one in the second half, and that might be enough because you're going to score 35 a game.
Yeah, and the way that this, like, it will work better when they know that they can get stops. But if they can just get them in key spots, look, last week the stop they got was a blocked field goal at the very end. Mm-hmm. They didn't do anything right on that last drive until that very second. But it only takes one thing. And what I do think people need to realize about Dave Aranda, that for as bland and boring as the Baylor program seems, one of the reasons it is that way is by design, because Dave is really good about keeping that team together and in stride and all that. Because if you look back last year when they started out the year terribly and looked like the wheels were about to fall off, they never quit believing in those coaches. So they believe in the coaches, and that I don't think is going to change. And look, right now they've done it by being 4-2. So I expect them to be, in the mix. I just think that their defense is not good enough to where they can really go on a run, but they'll beat some people.
Yeah.
They've got back-to-back home games or road games. It's TCU and Cincinnati. Yep. So there's a fork in the road upcoming. But hell, I mean, what if they go win those couple? What are people going to say if they're 6-2 with road wins at Fort Worth and Cincy and so on? But there you go. All right, top half of the bracket now here. Kansas surviving by the skin of their teeth against UCF. A talented team. Emmanuel Henderson's a beast. Jalen Daniels, very talented. Not quite the run game they had a year ago. Obviously, you lose Studley Stud, but they are a solid, I think, just one of those like a Baylor, like an Arizona, like a Houston, like maybe even a TCU. They are just a solid team that can win each game and they can lose each game. And I know that sounds probably a simplistic way to describe it, but I don't feel like they're in the upper tier where they're like knocking down the door to Arlington. But I think if things worked a certain way, they could be in the discussion here in a few weeks. I'm just not ready to put them in that upper group, but they are very solidly in that contender middle of the group. So for them to go out and move to 4-2 overall and 2-1 in Big 12 play, be above 500 and go win a road game in the Sunshine State, big goal line stand. I think they're a good, solid team, but they got to go to Lubbock now. So we'll see how that works out. TCU down a spot for me, and I know that TCU is coming off of a win. So to move them down seems kind of odd, but I had to make room.
Yeah, because Iowa State fell so far.
Yes, I had to
not
make
really
room.
what TCU didn't do. It's that a guy above them got thumped pretty good. So that happens.
And I wasn't going to drop Iowa State to like 9th because they lost a game all of a sudden. I think 4 is a pretty good fall. So this was less about TCU. This is more about Iowa State and just, had to make room for them. Iowa State drops 4. I felt like some people kind of thought they were towing the line to begin with some of their close wins. But I think they're a super solid football team. Losing their corners was huge last week, obviously, and we'll see how it affects them moving forward. It dings them a bit, in my opinion, as does their first loss. So they've got to drop. And just like for TCU, it's not about Iowa State, but it's just about Cincinnati jumping over Iowa State. You just beat them. For one, you just beat them. Cincinnati's got to get love for beating the Cyclones. I couldn't have Iowa State remaining above them.
Yeah, and especially since they weren't that far. I mean, they weren't like, it wasn't like
no,
Cincinnati
this isn't
was
them
13th.
No, this is them going up 2 spots. So I actually had a pretty good read on Cincinnati last week. So they jump up a couple spots for a big home win against the Cyclones.
Yeah, Craig, you're very dead. Like, I've not disagreed with one thing you've done in all of these MOJO rankings. You really do put some good work into it. Kansas, if they win this week, it's going to be because Jalen Daniels painted his masterpiece.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's going to be where he's going to be like, this is my Michelangelo's David. I can leave this place happy now, because that's what it's going to be because of that defense. TCU is just, I mean, they're
good, but they're not great by any
stretch. But they can't hold on to their own mojo too.
No.
So I kind of understand this. Iowa State in the first half was getting rocked.
Yeah, it was
so
bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
Let's not forget it was 31-7.
But credit to them for chipping away at it
yeah.
and in being that kind of team. But Cincinnati is this year, in my opinion, they're right now, they've got the last year Arizona State
They're
vibes.
trending to be either BYU or Arizona State a year ago. Yep.
Yeah, they are. So Cincy, a fun story, Iowa State dropping. And yeah, if that first half had held up, then Iowa State, I don't know where they would have fallen. Maybe like 9 or 10 if you had been beaten by 30-something points like it looked like they were en route to. But I still think they're going to make some noise if they can keep their health. And now to the top 4. Let's get into this. A bunch of people moving up because Iowa State lost. So Iowa State had been there at number 1 up until, a couple weeks ago. And then they were sitting there at number 2. But now with them dropping out, a lot of people moving up. So Utah sitting back and, getting a lot of criticism after that first loss. But again, I go back to what if Texas Tech's just really good? And that wasn't Utah being bad. It was that Tech is just that much better. They handled their business against West Virginia with absolutely no problem whatsoever. Arizona State, I think you could have them at 2 if you wanted to. I think you could make a case if you wanted to try and throw them in there, but very solid team, obviously. And now getting ready for a big showdown with Utah. So we're going to have this 3 versus 4 matchup coming up in Salt Lake City on Saturday, and I'm very much looking forward to. And that'll obviously create a move probably either way. BYU at number 2. Bear Bachmeier looked really good last week. Now, he had some mistakes, some turnovers. They got to clean that up. He can't have that, especially with the games they've got coming up on the schedule. But for a true freshman, rolling in like he has with some good help around him, he's played really well. He's got great receivers around him, really good running back in LJ Martin, terrific defense, solid special teams. Like BYU is just, I think, a total package. They don't necessarily have like the star or whatever, even though they do on defense, and some places on offense. But he's been really good, and that was the big missing piece, right? If Jake Retzloff had just been the quarterback rolling in, they would have been 2-3 on most of these preseason polls. And you take him out of the equation, you go, well, what now? Well, Bear Bachmeier's answered that resoundingly so far. So I think BYU from a top to bottom standpoint, and then considering some weeks you can throw in this home field advantage of theirs, they are a very strong team at the moment and one of only 2 unbeatens. The only other one, they're at number 1 as they have been for the last 3 weeks ever since that win over Utah. Texas Tech, do they run away with this thing? We've talked about Texas Tech versus the field and all of that, but I think they're the pretty clear number 1. They haven't been real challenged. I think that's going to change potentially here in the next few weeks. If it doesn't, then that bodes really, really well for them. But they're, to me, the clear number 1 right now from an everything standpoint. Mojo on the field, Mojo off the field, draft picks. Like, I mean, every category.
5-star commitment for
5
2 years
recruiting's
from now. Yeah,
out the window. Like, great.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you could possibly want to have going your direction right now, they've got going their direction. So that was a pretty easy choice at number 1. And there are the Mojo rankings for week 7.
Love them. Paul, I agree with you. There aren't many. A notch or 2, but because of the Iowa State ass kicking in the first half.
What would you change?
I think TCU could be 6 and Iowa State 7.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But I think that's splitting hairs.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, Iowa State, let's just not like they're gone.
But I've watched a lot of TCU guys, and I don't think that, I mean, if Iowa State has their starting corners, I'm taking Iowa State over TCU. Now, they don't have them, but I still feel like that would be a pretty good game between those two. TCU is Josh Hoover and Eric McAllister throwing like highlight balls or Josh Hoover throwing highlight balls to Eric McAllister. They're a good team, but I don't have them in that upper tier right now. So that's why they are where they are.
Well,
but yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, Cincinnati, one of the fight on said they should be 4th or 5th. Well, they're 5th. Go ahead one more time, Garrett. And then one of the other things, Bracket Cat talked about K-State can't win close games. They are now 5-10 the last 3 years when it comes to 1-score games.
Yeah, part of this too, being a power ranking, is I don't know that I would take Cincinnati over Utah. So, I mean, I take that into consideration, but them jumping up a couple spots, like this will work itself out, obviously. But yeah, if you want to go back on like a spot higher, then yeah, I could see that, much like the TCU thing. So to each their own, and I appreciate any feedback.
All right. And the chat's got some feedback. Chris Bartles, 4-7, could be in any order, but since it's Mojo week to week, he is spot on. So
thank you.
There you go. All right. Paul, you were going to add something?
I was just going to say, let's go to the picks because we're running low on time.
All right. I made a jump last week, and I felt good about it. But now tested this week. Here we go.
All right, let's throw the records up there, Garrett. 13-17. I did not do well last week. I've not done well this entire time. This is the worst season of college football pick'em I've ever had. And Craig and Smokey continue to dominate. Smokey's been on a nice run the last couple of weeks. Okay, first game up is Ohio State and Illinois. I'm taking Ohio State. I think the Illini will avail themselves well in this game. I just think that athletically they've been a little bit exposed when it comes to top-end talent. So I'm taking the Buckeyes here, although as the number one team in the country and they've been good, they still don't run the ball all that great yet. So I'm curious to see what happens down the stretch with Ohio State, but I'm picking it to win until somebody can knock them off.
I had some back and forth with some of these other games, not with this one. I mean, I get the on the road and all that, but I think Ohio State's one of the top 1, 2, 3 teams in the country, so give me the Buckeyes.
Yeah, they're not a team that doesn't seem like they're going to do what Indiana did to Illinois, but they're just solid across the board. The offensive line is fantastic. Defense, I'll take the Buckeyes too.
Okay, next up, Oregon and Indiana, number 3 versus number 7. An excellent matchup in Autzen Stadium. I think that this will be a fun one for a little while, and I think that Kurt Cignetti can hang. I just think that, and this is also my top 2, if I had to pick 2 guys to go to the Heisman Trophy ceremony right now, no questions asked, I would pick Mendoza and Moore. I think Dante Moore, who this week I'm seeing some draft nicks throw him up as the top pick. That's how well he's playing. I don't know if he's quite there yet, but I'm going to go with the Ducks in this one.
Oh, it's not Arch Manning anymore?
No.
They've changed their minds now?
As a matter of fact,
okay.
if you looked at the stuff they had 2 months ago to now, all their quarterbacks have changed.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine
Craig,
that.
stop being Eric Gray with theathletic.com with Arch. That was a
It's not a shot at Arch.
No,
it's a shot at the people putting him at number 1 overall all offseason.
I was kidding.
Oregon, Autzen playing there matters to me. I think they're the better overall team, but I am super intrigued by what Indiana can throw at them. They're obviously super explosive, very well-rounded, and this is a really interesting game to me. I never thought I'd be interested in an Oregon-Indiana game up until about a year ago, but here we are, and I'm definitely interested in what the Hoosiers bring to the table here, but I'll take the Ducks at home.
Even more so that it's a conference game. You would never have thought that much until all the crazy. I take the Ducks to win at home.
Next up, USC and Michigan. I believe I'm the only one who did this, and I'm probably stupid for doing it, but one, I'm desperate.
You don't do that.
That's when you start getting behind.
No, but I do. Yeah, I was already. Yeah,
they're favored though.
They're favored. They're favored in the game. I think they're going to get one of these over a team like Michigan. I think it's going to be this week, and so I'm picking them to win this game. I think that they have a just enough offense over Michigan to get it done, and it is at home. So I'll take the Trojans, and Lincoln Riley's one where it's like, I figured it out now.
Yeah. I don't feel great about this pick, but I did go with Michigan. I think that there's a lot to love about the Trojans. Jaden Mayava has been much better than I anticipated him being, but I also have read about Michigan's struggles when they head west, which is what they're going to be doing more often than they ever have done before. And for some reason, that didn't deter me from picking Michigan. And I can't explain it other than I just go with my gut sometimes. And my gut kept screaming, no, take Bryce Underwood in Michigan, despite the travel woes, despite the fact that USC looks good. I do think Paul is probably onto something like Lincoln Riley's kind of due for a big win. It's at home. It's a big opponent, but I don't know. My brain said Wolverines. So here we are. I feel like they're going to put it together and go get a big win in LA.
They're pretty solid. Sometimes you wonder, but Paul, what did you say? You were the only one?
Yeah.
SC.
Oh,
baby.
no, you changed. Okay.
I got the game at home. I think Lincoln Riley is due for a nice win and I have the Trojans.
All right, we'll fight on for me and Smokey. Our fourth game, Bama and Mizzou. In Mizzou, I think Ty Simpson's going along so well right now. That's why I'm rolling with Alabama in this one, but I think this is their best matchup. Actually, I mean, obviously they played Georgia a couple weeks ago, but this is more like I think Mizzou's more a complete team on offense than Georgia is right now. Not to say that, again, Georgia could play Mizzou and beat them, but I like what Mizzou's got going. They're really vibing right now. They got Ahmad Hardy. They've got good wide receivers. They've got excellent O-line play. Their defense is good enough, but I still think Bama in this one because of Ty Simpson.
Bama's had some success going on for a few years now against Missouri. Nice little, I think it's like 6 consecutive wins. It's got to end at some point. This seems like a pretty good candidate to where it is, but I just think Alabama's playing so well right now that they just feel like sort of the team to beat in the country outside of an Ohio State or an Oregon at the moment or a Miami. I think they're right there, if not right below that. And so I'm rolling with it's less about Missouri because I do think home field will matter. I think, like you said, they got a nice battery there in the backfield, especially. But this is about the mojo of the Tide at the moment that I'm going to go with Alabama.
Missouri, number 5 in the country in total yards, which is interesting. We mentioned how much they're putting up on the ground, but Alabama does look like it's a completely different team that Florida State thumped and beat up in that opening week, but I'm going to take the Crimson Tide here.
If Alabama figures out how to run the ball consistently, they're going to be really scary.
Well, they got Jam Miller back, and that already started paying dividends last week. So.
Yeah,
they just don't seem like they have a guy that's going to go 50. Not, They usually do. They have like 5 of them, but their offensive line giving Ty Simpson all the time he needs.
Absolutely. Finally, let's go to Red River at the Cotton Bowl. I am picking Oklahoma here. I think Texas is in a lot of disarray. Now, this game never makes sense, ever. But I think that the Texas O-line struggling with Oklahoma's front, I think is the flip to this game. If Mateer plays, then I'm really going to feel good about this pick. But even with Michael Hawkins, I really like Ben Arbuckle. I think he's a better play caller than they've had. I think he'll figure out how to get it done. Not going to be a lot of points because both defenses are good, but I think OU's defensive front versus that Texas O-line that's really struggling flips this game.
If I knew John Mateer was playing, I'd pick Oklahoma, but I don't. So that makes it an absolute coin flip for me, and the flip landed on heads for Bebo's head there. So
you're doing it. You're giving him too much. Texas.
You don't think this is a coin flip game with no John Mateer?
I'm just saying I have the same pick.
Okay, so it's not. I'm not giving them enough. It's about Oklahoma doesn't have their starting quarterback potentially. So, like I just said, if John Mateer was playing and we knew that, I would pick Oklahoma and not blink about it. We don't know that. We're seeing a lot of noise out there. So I flipped a coin. It landed on heads, and I'm going with Texas. But if this was Mateer playing, I'm taking Oklahoma. But it makes it a coin flip, so that's where I am. This isn't giving Texas too much credit like last week or setting myself up to be happily surprised. I think this is the uncertainty at quarterback that sways it for me in UT's favor.
Yeah, this is such an emotional game. A bad play early, a muff punt, something like that can just flip this thing into a blowout. It's happened before. I'm taking Texas. I know the offensive line is terrible, or it has been. But I do feel like that Oklahoma not being able to run the ball much at all against a team in Texas whose defense is still playing pretty well, got gashed by Florida a little bit. I just think that I don't know how Oklahoma's going to score much. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll take the Horns.
We also thought that about Florida, and Florida scored just fine. I'm with you
Florida
too.
Florida was the better team on Saturday.
I mean, we also got to – it's not like Texas just sucks all of a sudden either. Like they still got dudes and they can still play. So I think this is going to be a really interesting. It's always interesting. What am I talking about? But I'm super intrigued by this weekend, and that's regardless of whether Mateer plays or not. But I sure as hell hope he plays.
The game flips on SC Michigan and or Texas and OU.
I really do hope I pick up a game on you with your own team, Craig.
Hey, if you do, you do, man.
Yeah.
If you do, you do.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. When we come back, Zack Gelb, Infinity Sports Network, his thoughts about the coming weekend and more. And he did an interview with Sawyer Robertson this week on his CBS or Infinity Sports Network show. This is 365 Sports.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is the solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners at northstarfundingpartners.com.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
This is Richard Carr, and it's hard to believe, but 2025 marks our 26th year in the car business. I want to thank you for your support over the last 26 years. As a locally owned business, our customers in Central Texas community are also friends and neighbors. If you haven't been by lately, I invite you to come in and experience our amazing lineup of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles. Our goal is to make you feel like more than just a customer, but as a valued neighbor. Let us show you why we are people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
We are back, and I was texting Zack Gelb, making sure he understands it. And I texted him a little bit. He had a pretty good, long interview with Sawyer Robertson on his Infinity Sports Network. I got to get this stat in. Nothing to do with the MOJO rankings or anything. Navy beat Air Force last weekend 34-31. What offenses are they known for?
They run option offenses.
The two teams threw for 588 yards combined, the most ever in a game between service academies. They went off, and I mean long play after long play. I've been wanting that. I've had this since like even the weekend, but that blew my mind. I was like, man, they are throwing the ball, not like 1 for 1 for 58 yards, but 588 yards passing in that game. All right, so one of the things that, and Zach's going to join us in a minute, we hope, but one of the things that took a little bit of like, what was Sarkisian saying? I don't have the exact quote, but one of the things he mentioned earlier this week was how many teams would be able to go into Columbus and into Gainesville and win.
Yeah, he said that, and
he took some criticism for it.
That's true.
Because USF went into Gainesville and won, but I understood his point. But yeah, that was a little sign of frustration, as you could imagine.
The thing is that you say that when you win those games and then you lose another one and they're criticizing you for that one. You don't say it when you've lost those games. I think he had it backwards. So if I go into Columbus and Gainesville and win, and then say I go into Columbia, South Carolina and lose, then they're like, oh, you lost to South Carolina. That's not and of course, not to knock that stadium, they have good vibe there too. But just trying to make my point here, he said that, but like you lost those games, so you're kind of saying like, yeah, look, our team's not as good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really give it any thought what he said, but I saw some of the reaction to it, and I guess do we have Zach?
No. They had a fire alarm in the building, but he said he'll be on in just a second.
Okay. Yeah. So on the Sarkisian thing, like I don't know. I mean, you lose, and all of a sudden people want to parse through your comments and make whole other stories out of them. So he could come across sounding like a little bit of an excuse maker or a don't look over in this direction because we are still better than most, and it's hard to do this. But you could also read that if you're a disgruntled fan as quit making excuses and that type of thing. And I think that Sark finds himself in a spot now where, because they've eaten a couple of losses, when you try to explain, it sounds like excuse making, even though the explanation might be legit, because people don't want to hear the excuses. They don't want to hear about how you went to Columbus and how hard it was, or you went to Gainesville. You signed up for it, buddy. That's what you did when you signed up to go play in the SEC, when you signed the contract to go play home and home with the Buckeyes. So that's part of the deal. So, yeah, I think when you're losing, things get amplified, and they sound like excuses maybe than just throwing facts out there.
I think if USF had not won in Gainesville, it would be a little bit different. And Zack Gelb joins us, Infinity Sports Network. Zach, you saw the comment from Sark. What say you?
Was that James Franklin? I'm like, that's terrible. How many these coaches? I just don't get them. You lose. You've had 2 losses. The Ohio State one, Arch wasn't ready. The one up against Florida is inexcusable. Just own it. Stop trying to justify your losses and stop making, 99% of the other schools would love to be us, or 135 schools. How would they do? Because you said it, Smokey. USF walked into the swamp and got a victory. Don't tell me that little poor old Texas couldn't do that up against the Gators, who suck.
Oh, can we save that, Garrett? Save that part right there. That last part. That's a great drop there. Zach,
what part was the drop?
The Gators suck is just a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what did I say that was so good?
It's always music to my ears when I hear it. But Zach, Bill Belichick, it looks like it's going to end really quickly. And dear God, who could have seen this coming?
Yeah, this has always been a weird fit from the start. It's sad that Bill Belichick, first off, is coaching in college football. We all love college football. This is the greatest NFL head coach of all time. And, I thought the Falcons should have hired him, to be clear, and they didn't do so. I don't know how much better it is with Raheem Morris right now, but this is an unmitigated disaster right now with UNC. And Connolly's been all over this stuff. He was the one that had Bill going to UNC in the first place. The moment he started reporting this stuff, that's when I said, Bill's in trouble.
As a known James Franklin opinionist, what could have possibly been on your mind last week when you saw that dumpster fire of an outcome in Los Angeles?
I am usually a James Franklin prognosticator, and I usually get it right. You know what, James? You finally got one over me. I didn't see this one coming. How the heck do you lose? Not only lose to UCLA, you're down 27-7.
Yeah.
27-7. I actually feel bad for them now. I feel bad for my dear friend James Franklin. I feel bad for Penn State. That's pathetic. That's the nail in the coffin. Don't tell me, the buyout. Don't tell me, who's going to do a better job. Go give the job to Key at Georgia Tech. Go try to go get Kenny Dillingham. There's other names that will get floated out there. You want to bring in Glenn Schumann, the defensive coordinator of Georgia. That would be fine. And there's some others that Signetti. How about you're at Indiana. Why not go take the job at Penn State? Maybe some role with Tulane. I know he wants an SEC job, and obviously Big Ten is with Penn State, but there's names out there. It's time for Pat Kraft to get rid of James Franklin.
Well, wouldn't it be better, like it would work out, like if they could start saying like, hey, James, like, those other, like when the NFL calls this year, pick up the phone.
Yeah, here's the thing.
I admit that may not happen.
How much are really people calling about James Franklin, or he just has a good agent? Like every year, James Franklin, there's 7 or 8 teams that come calling for him, and he keeps on getting these extensions out of the wazoo. I wonder how many phone calls and how many serious phone calls he's actually getting. But wouldn't it be something if he's coaching UCLA next year or Virginia Tech? Like, I don't think those are horrible destinations for him, and those programs do need a coach that will bring some stability. And say what you want about James Franklin, I'm his biggest critic. The guy does win football games. He just doesn't beat the great teams. So teams like UCLA and Virginia Tech would take it.
Yeah, that's just and how about Zach? Who's the reporter, Side Right Button, that was like going off about teams and coaches complaining about having to play and get on airplanes and flying across? Hey, everyone wanted this. Oh, I'm not sure everyone did, but tough, long road trip. But still, you're Penn State and the UCLA's a mess.
Smokey, you're a salt of an earth human being, but you could be a pit bull when you do this job. I know you ask the proper questions. James Franklin needs to be asked this when he said travel. Hey, coach, how did Dan Lanning do flying from Oregon to Happy Valley? How'd that game go? Mm-hmm. Travel my ass.
Zach Gelb with us on Wednesdays in the 5 o'clock hour.
That's why I hate the guy. That's why I can't, because it's the excuses. You lose. Don't lose and act like an ass. All right. That's the bottom line. That's what he does.
Yeah. And like, he almost like when he hit travel, he was almost sounding to me like right before he got there, he was almost sounding to me like, look, I know I handled all this week wrong. This is on me. This is on me. Right? And then he's like, the travel. And you're like, on your charter jet, you asshat? Come on.
No. Travel. We're talking about travel.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Zach, this week, Red River, maybe John Matier, maybe not. Do you think that Texas is genuinely in trouble against the backup quarterback?
I had Bijan Robinson on my show today, and I told him I don't think Texas is any good, but this college football season is unpredictable. When we started the conversation, the line was Texas laying 1.5. Now it's Oklahoma laying 1.5. The line doesn't make sense to me either way, even with potentially Matier maybe or maybe not playing in the game. I think Texas is winning this game, and I think Texas is going to find a way to get the job done up against Oklahoma. It's not that all of a sudden I believe in Arch Manning and Sark now is the greatest coach ever. It's just what college football has been this year. Just when you think you're starting to figure teams out, they lose. So I'm going to say Texas, who loses to Florida, lost to Ohio State to start the season. Sark bitches and complains this entire week. He will get rewarded with the victory on Saturday.
If, in fact, they don't win, if they drop to 3-3, this is the team ranked number 1. We know that was a fraudulent, but 3-3 there, and he has had pretty much the run of what he wanted. It looked like they were built for a nice. If they go to 3-3, the unmitigated fire under his butt is be unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's crazy because he's done a good job too.
Yes, he has.
You know, how many years did we joke about the Sam Ehlinger, we're back? But the last 2 years, Texas has been back. They haven't won a national championship, but they won the Big 12 in their final year in there. They were in the college football playoff. They lost the game to Kalen DeBoer in Washington. But last year, first you're in the SEC, you're in the SEC title game, and then you're finding your way in the Final Four of the college football playoff with the expansion to 12. I thought Sark has done a good job. I'm not ready to say that Arch is a bust. Bijan Robinson agreed with me earlier today. I was talking to him about that, him being the famous Texas Longhorn. But you got to put lipstick on a pig by the end of this year. And then next year, obviously, it's make or break for not only Arch Manning, because it will be it for him, but really Steve Sarkisian. He'll be back next year, regardless how this year goes.
Sure.
But next year is a massive year.
What do you think about Bama and Mizzou this week? Ty Simpson's maybe punching his ticket every week to New York.
I like the Bama defense. I think the story is Bama's defense the last 2 weeks, especially what they did up against Georgia. The fumble with Pavia, and then the interception of Pavia, the two of them in the fourth quarter. I think the story is the defense. The defense starting to look like the team that I thought they were going to be when the season started. And Ty Simpson, it's funny. I actually texted this to Kalen DeBoer. Before the season started, I said, I'm all in on your quarterback. I wasn't all in on your quarterback this entire offseason. I didn't think he was going to be any good. But then as we got closer to the season, I thought he could be a Heisman Trophy finalist. I don't think he wins the award right now. I think it would be Dante Moore if it was handed out tomorrow. But he should probably be in New York City. But I look at what happened with Alabama. I know this may sound weird because the Georgia game, right, it's Georgia, but they beat Georgia last year. So them beating them again, it's expected. Avenging the loss to Vanderbilt is actually more impressive to me than beating Georgia, even though Georgia's the better team, because it shows me, all right, maybe what happened last year is different this go around.
You interviewed Sawyer Robertson. We've done that a handful of times. He just seems to I told you he'd be a great interview, and he was.
No, and you gave me a great tip on the ice cream, because you know me, I don't just like to just only talk football. Anytime you tell me that the quarterback loves ice cream, we got into a whole back and forth on food. I'm not saying he's going to be a first-round pick. His number suggests that he could be a first-round pick. This quarterback class, we were told for a year, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, blah, 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 blah. A lot of those quarterbacks aren't looking all that good this year. He will ace the interview process. There's no doubt about that. It wouldn't shock me if we're talking in April of Sawyer Robertson being a first-round pick.
Zach, obviously the Giants are a little bit better, but the Jets are a disaster. In New York, is it fun to be a football fan at all right now?
I think it's been fun to be a football fan since Eli Manning retired, if I'm being honest. Aaron Glenn, this guy, we're not the same old Jets, really? How about what happened against the Cowboys? It was 7-3, you're driving, or 10-3, you're driving, you go tie up the game. Breece Hall fumbles it. Then you allow them to go 91 yards against this great Jet defense. They score a touchdown. There's 57 seconds left. All right, you're down, going to be 17-3. They then go 3 and out. Williams hits off a 60-something yard run, and they score the second Ferguson touchdown of the day. So that was 23-3 in a snap of a finger. That is the same old Jets.
So your thoughts about this NFL? Philadelphia with a blown tire at the end of the day. They've been playing with their food, Zach. They win. But it just seemed like they get bored or something. That's not an excuse, because obviously they did not win. But your thoughts are, and we hear about the leaders and Barkley and Hurts and Brown. Yeah. The drama, there's no need for it.
So I'm going to the game tomorrow night, and I'm very curious what the vibe's going to be. Saquon Barkley basically was a mediator here. That's how I interpret it. Why was he in the meeting? I get he's Saquon Barkley. It tells me that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are contentious right now. Now, 2 years ago, there was issues, and it derailed the season, right? They were 10-1, and then the offense stunk down the stretch, and they couldn't find a way to do anything, and the offense even struggled at 10-1. Last year, there was issues too, and they won a Super Bowl. So is Jalen Hurts difficult to deal with? Is A.J. Brown difficult to deal with? Or is it a mixture of both? But these two guys who were supposedly best friends, it's now 3 years of issues, and they have such a good team in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. But hey, they should have lost the game against the Rams. They got lucky. They found a way to hold on and come on back in that one. And then this past week, it was, I don't know who's on. AJ stopped running. Hurts overthrew him. It could go both ways. I've watched it 10,000 times. I still don't know who's at fault. But they hit that play. It's night-night. It's 24-3. Instead, you end up losing the game. They got to put these egos aside, because it could derail the season.
Last question, and thanks, Zach, for being a part of it again, is that in that area where you are, you go to games quite a bit. You mentioned Philly tomorrow night. You've got you're in that northeast area where New York and Philly, et cetera. What's that like to have all of that so close to you and being able to pick and choose where you go?
Yeah, it's awesome. And D.C. and Baltimore isn't that far away, so I've been to some Commanders and Ravens games. You could get to Boston pretty quickly, too. It's like a 4-hour drive, but you could also get on a plane and be there in 50 minutes. But, I'm a sick mofo, I guess, doing this stuff. I love going to the games. Most people listen and be like, yeah, why would you not love going to the games? Sometimes people get tired with it. I don't. I think it's important for me to get my ass in a lot of the buildings. And I'm actually going Monday. I'm flying out Monday morning to go see the Falcons and the Bills. Going to do the show in Atlanta, then go to the game at night. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So it's awesome. I'm young. I hope to be like Smokey one day and being 1,000 years old still doing this and going still from stadium to stadium and having that hunger. I know Smokey will be doing this until he takes his last breath on this planet. There's no doubt about it.
It'll be when the day I don't do this is the day I won't be around to do this. You're right. I can't imagine that. Zach, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a great trip. And enjoy the weekend. Thank you.
You got it, guys. Sorry I was late. The fire alarm was going off here. I thought I was going to get killed or something like that.
Yeah, no, be careful. Zack Gelb, Infinity Sports Network, with us. A lot of college football, some notes as well on the NFL and pro sports. When we come back, Paul Catalina, the top five. Andrew Valade will have the wheel to spin. We'll have quizzes and the poll results. That is next, and this is 365 Sports.
Hey guys, I'm Abby Dommett, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very discreet.
As life goes on, it settles into patterns. But it doesn't have to go that way. You just have to do one thing. Get out of the house. Get out of your comfort zone. Leave room for the unexpected. American Tourister. And pace.
What do you want? What's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
Meet Beagle, your financial concierge. Find your old 401k. Discover your 401k hidden fees. Roll over and save thousands. Unlock your 401k and IRA. MeetBeagle.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. I am the aforementioned Paul Catalina. This is brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, I want to talk about tight ends. Tight ends that require your attention. They sometimes get swept under the rug of the prolific offenses in today's college football, but I will not allow that to happen, especially in a Big 12 that finally has some that are really good. And I say this as a former AP All Big 12 team voter. I used to have to pick 3 tight ends in a league that threw the tight end the ball an average of 20 times a year as a league. But now the clouds have lifted and tight ends are free to roam among secondaries in college football, particularly in the Big 12. You'll see a couple Big 12 guys on this list. Number 5. Eli Stowers at Vandy, a well-traveled former quarterback who wound up at Vandy, is Diego Pavia's favorite target and a guy who's going to go to the NFL and play tight end. He is a very, very smart football player, very athletic, very fun to watch, and one of the reasons that Vandy did not beat Bama last week is Bama did a pretty good job on Eli Stowers compared to the other teams that Vandy had played so far this year. You should know his name. You should put respect on his name. I am here for tight ends because I can't do a top 5 about fullbacks anymore, and this is the next best thing. Number 4, Randy Pittman from FSU. Yeah, homer pick. I get it. Moving on. He kept the Seminoles in the game against Virginia 2 weeks ago, and they move him all over the field in Gus Malzahn's offense. He's taken snaps in the Wildcat. He's thrown passes. He's run the ball. He's caught the ball. He is a prolific weapon. They used Jaheim Bell similarly a couple of years ago to great success. Randy Pittman Jr. allows them to do that again. They are stacked at tight end at Florida State, but Randy Pittman, in my opinion, a top 3 portal pickup for them this past year, and they had some really, really good ones on that roster. Number 3, Brett Norfleet at Mizzou. Not a guy who's going to get a ton of yards, but he's a weapon in the red zone, scoring touchdowns in almost every single game this year. Bo Prabula likes to throw the ball to Brett Norfleet when they get inside the red zone. He's a first down machine. He's a really good blocker. He's got big, broad shoulders, long arms. He can get out on you. This is someone you also need to watch. Again, I love fullbacks and tight ends, And since fullbacks are almost extinct, I have to do this top 5. Brett Norfleet, watch him. For our Texas Tech audience, Terrence Carter Jr., also a red zone weapon. Now, Texas Tech is going to spread the ball around probably better than most teams in the country. They really do get it to a bunch of different receivers. But when it comes red zone time, Terrence Carter Jr. is in there, a transfer from Louisiana, a perfect fit in Mac Leschwich's offense in Lubbock. It's been fantastic. Baron Morton loves him. I really like watching Terrence Carter play ball. And the one who inspired this list, 20th in receiving yards in the entire country right now, tight end Michael Trigg from Baylor. If you watched the game last week, he made a ton of insane catches. He is a fantastic receiver in the open field. He is very hard to tackle. He is an absolute weapon, and in the last 3 weeks, he's made himself a couple of commas in the draft, if you know what I'm talking about. He is a definite second-day pick at worst if he stays where he is right now and continues this production. Tight ends in the first round are a tricky thing. You've got to be super, super elite. He might find his way into the bottom of that first round because of his athleticism. He's well-traveled. He's been at 3 different schools, but here he is flourishing at Baylor in Jake Spavital's offense, and he is the number 1 go-to guy for Sawyer Robertson when they need a play, and Baylor does not win that game without some spectacular plays from Michael Trigg. Watch him. You're going to hear his name a whole lot more. The Draft Nicks have found him. They're going to talk about Michael Trigg a lot. We'll call it trigonometry. Oh, we do puns here. That's going to do it for us. We've got the wheel and the polls and the trivia questions, the whole carnival coming up right now.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. The top 5 every show near the very end of what we do. And now, Paul, where's the wheel?
Oh, my gosh. Hold on.
This is the bracket cat. Trigg is literally indefensible.
Yeah, Michael Trigg has been really good for Baylor. Mackey Award finalist, if they were to announce the award today, type of player at the moment. Top receiving tight end in the country. I know there's guys like Eli Stowers maybe or somebody like that. There's a few others you could throw in the mix. But, yeah, he's playing as well as any tight end in the country, making himself a pretty much surefire draft pick coming up in April. And, some incredible – I mean, that sideline catch, the one-handed catch the other day was crazy stuff.
Make it look like he was just plucking an apple out of the tree. All right.
Okay, wheel time.
That's a weird little
glare, yeah. Garrett's enjoying the sunshine too much back.
I bet it's cold as hell in here. Turn the heat down or up.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Which matchup pops into your head first when you hear the words college football?
OU Texas. I mean, I know that's fitting for this week, but that's the first one for me. Obviously, have a personal bias there. But if you said Michigan, Ohio State, that would probably be like my number 2, or Auburn, Alabama. I don't want to read y'all's picks, but yeah, for me, it's Oklahoma,
Navy.
Texas.
Army, Navy. That's mine.
Yeah, mine honestly is still A&M in Texas because that's my first earliest college football memories.
Yeah, it's just.
Because that's the ones I remember going to were A&M and Texas games when we'd go visit my grandparents at Thanksgiving. If we were going to Austin and they were playing in Austin, we were going to get tickets until the only time we didn't go in Austin my whole life was when Ricky Williams broke the record because my dad surprisingly had a limit on what he was going to pay for tickets.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I was 16 when that happened. Or 17, whatever.
I can see, especially your age, being a Texas A&M guy. There will be a generation of like little kids right now that 20, 25 years from now will be probably saying the same thing once again. There's a whole generation where they weren't really saying that, though, here lately.
Andrews.
Yeah, pretty much Andrews. But I don't even want to say it, but I just – like you totally know A&M's going to be in a position at the end of the year where Texas is like – not even going to a bowl game or like, and then A&M's going to be on the verge of a playoff spot, and you just see it coming, baby. Like
we're going to go into Austin. Oh, this is going to be a great moment. This is going to be like the first few years RC Slocum all over again.
Win gets you in the SEC title game in the playoff, and
Like last year, when if they won the game, they would have been
exactly
the SEC
like
title
last
game.
year.
Yeah,
Exactly
It's one of those where it seems like they hyperventilate in the biggest of moments of that
But
series.
maybe not. Maybe Elko really does have them kind of believing different. We'll see.
All right. Now, quiz. Oh, Paul, you haven't yet. Yeah, you're.
I did
okay.
Texas A&M in Texas.
Quizzes. This legend was the first athlete ever featured on a Wheaties cereal box in 1934, starting the Breakfast of Champions tradition. I have an idea who this is.
I'm going to say Jim Thorpe.
I'm going to say. Hey, I was going to say Jesse Owens.
Oh, damn.
Jesse Owens was 36, though. That was the 36 Olympics.
Yeah.
So he wasn't quite as known in 1934.
Total shot in the dark on my part.
When was Thorpe? I mean, he was like in the early 1900s or when?
Yeah, see, he's probably too old, actually. He's probably too old. I don't know that for sure. I don't know his age. I will say they've got a nice little exhibit to him at the Oklahoma City Thunder arena that I checked out when we were up there for some college basketball a few times.
Man, yeah. You're about Oklahoma natives and
Jim
Thorpe,
total badass.
Yep. I really wish somebody would do like a legit biopic about him. Like something really, really
I'm
good.
sure there's been one.
But like something good.
Played by Austin Butler.
I was with an actual Native American actor.
No, I agree. But I know how Hollywood works sometimes.
Exactly.
All right.
I don't feel good about it. I'll tell you all that. So if you want to change it, that's fine.
I think it's Lou Gehrig.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lou Gehrig. Because you wouldn't want Babe Ruth on a cereal box. I mean, you say, hey, this is healthy for you.
He was a good-looking athlete. He was an incredible athlete. We're all split
Let's
here.
just go look
at it.
There you go.
There you
Paul,
go.
you got one.
Yeah.
It makes up for you were in a little
Andrew
swamp.
thought,
I know.
Andrew thought they're dummies. They're totally not getting this. And then at the end,
we came out. Paul pulled us out of the ditch.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was good. 1934. Like if he had just said the first guy in a Wheaties box, well, I knew it wouldn't have been Jesse Owens because I know in the 30s no one would have put a black guy on anything
That's
to
a good
sell
point,
it.
too.
Because it's just how the country was in a really bad spot then when it came to that. So, I didn't think it was Babe Ruth because he already had other things. And Lou Gehrig really kind of, encapsulates Wheaties.
Do y'all find Wheaties to be all that tasty?
No.
Jim Thorpe died in 53. He was born in 1887.
He would actually be. I really don't care for a lot of biography movies on people at this point in time. They're not my favorite thing anymore.
I'm done with music ones.
Yeah, the music ones. I mean, we've tapped out. I mean, we're gonna get like the Lady Gaga one here pretty soon. But I like facts. So I don't like the Hollywoodification of like actual facts. That's why I don't really like biographies like that. But the Jim Thorpe one, that would actually be really pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Cool. Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. Essentially playing games in dress shoes too. Like that's a cool story. All right, what's next?
In the 1994 film Forrest Gump, the title character's running skills earned him a college football.
Bear Bryant.
Roll Tide.
It's Bear Bryant. Andrew didn't realize that he picked my favorite all-time movie here.
In Forrest Gump, Forrest unstoppable running hours of a scholarship at Bama. That's a very memorable scene and a couple scenes actually. A few scenes. He's at the White House as a member of Alabama as an All-American. He's running the kickoff back. He's getting onto the team to begin with as the bullies chase him. Spoiler. Yeah. The movie came out in 1993 or 4.
94.
So if you haven't watched it, that's your problem.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great. And the line that Bear Bryant has in the game where he's returning the touchdown is, he's the stupidest son of a bitch alive, but he sure is fast.
Have you ever read the books?
Yeah. I could. You know what? I read the first one when I was 14 when this movie came out, and then I came away thinking like,
they're weird, man.
Like they're not good. Like
no.
I can't believe this book got made into a movie.
It's amazing that the all-time classic movie got made out of
the book. Yeah.
Hey, one note on Lou Gehrig. That's the year he won the Triple Crown, too, by the way, in 1934. I was wondering about that. Okay, Bear Bryant. Was the $250,000 fine on Jerry Jones fair? Yes, because the precedent, in my opinion, had been set.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, most people say it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't matter to Jerry.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's probably. Hopefully, I don't like giving people options where they can just say they don't care about something. Like it's just like, what's the point? But in this case, I think that doesn't matter could mean it's not going to matter and hurt him in any way, shape, or form. Like 250s, he sneezes that. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but it's a fair punishment. You got to set a precedent, and he should have just rolled with it, man. Oh, sorry, Paul. Sorry. I meant to give you a thumbs up, Paul. Like, I mean, you don't. Come on, dude.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, the $100,000 fine to the Arizona coach, to me, was
It's
That
silly.
was crazy.
It's silly, but you know what I would say with Jonathan Gannon is like, it's worth it. I had to get those emotions out.
Yeah, no, it was worth the $100,000, but that's a little bit too soft right there for me.
That was too soft.
Too soft that he got fined $100,000.
Oh, well, I mean, I can understand but I mean, here's the thing. I would have blown up too, because that is the dumbest play in sports.
It is.
It's the fact that it even comes close to happening, much less actually still happens in an NFL game of all places. It's like, I would have blown up too. I don't even want to go on a rant about it. It just infuriates me of how stupid of a play that is.
Yeah.
And you've got all of this room. Like, literally, you could drop the ball anywhere in this room, and they choose to walk outside and drop it in front of the door.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, that was you just don't know.
It's
crazy.
just goofy.
All right.
Like, I don't get it.
All right, now last one. What's your preferred way to watch sports? Now, this is something that normally would have been no way it would. I was just like, but the streaming services has come into play more than I ever would have thought I would have understood.
A lot of people hoping that the government doesn't search their internet history and see that they voted for pirating here. 22%.
Remember was it boxing or UFC where people would start shooting it on their phone?
No, there used to be an app called Periscope that you could actually, it basically was just a live stream. And I don't know whatever happened to it, but I don't think it was ever really ran all that well. But there for about a good 2 years.
I think somebody bought it so they could kill it.
Probably Dana White, because you'd have people literally sitting in their living rooms, and they would just put their phone facing the TV, and they would buy the UFC pay-per-view, and you could just sit in this person's living room and watch the UFC. And I did that for a bunch of fights that I didn't want to pay a bunch of money for.
I would watch it. I wasn't the one pirating it. By the way, I want to know why there's not old television set up there.
Let me explain to you how the crime of piracy works. If a person pirates and then you obtain their pirated goods, you are also a pirate.
So that wasn't me. It was my friend Brad.
I love Mike Leach. God rest his soul. So I'll be a pirate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on cable, part of like where I live, but I'm using streaming services on the multiple TV setup every weekend to be able to watch the various ESPN matchups all at one time if they're not doing the multicast. So I'm a little bit of 1 and 2, but the league pass being only 2%, they're going to price people out, man. I know there's going to be a breaking point here where there's too many people who already have too much asking for too much more from people who don't. And we're not going to keep doing that forever and ever.
No.
Yep, I agree. All right, Andrew, very well done. We've got a chunk is what I call it, a big chunk at the end. Top 5, spin the wheel, the quizzes, and also poll results. Very well done.
Carnival.
Thank you very much. By the way, Brandon Rowe, not here. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks with weddings. He had his own on Saturday, and he's in New Mexico enjoying life. Garrett.
I think he's back on Monday or Tuesday next week, and then he's gone for like another couple of days.
He's going to be with us for 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, he's going to be with us for a couple of days. And he's going to be
Garrett sure as hell hopes he is. God. Yeah. Thank you very much, Garrett Ross. He was here early with me with the high school podcast that we'll have up soon. And also Andrew Valade, King Jiu-Jitsu, with also a lot as he does every day. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. Tomorrow, we know we have Sam Conn. We also have our Big 12 picks. We also have Taylor McCarg and a few other things, and maybe Max Olson. We can't wait. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 3. Have a great night.